medical technician, Mary Carrigan, is suing her boyfriend's brother, 23-year-old grocery store clerk Jason Bulkey, for damaging her rental car by hitting it with a bottle. Jason says the car was damaged because Mary wrecked it while driving drunk.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Now, this is case number 85 on the calendar, the matter of Carrigan versus Bulkey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. May be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Carrigan, it is your claim that the defendant, who is your boyfriend's brother, caused damage to your rental car. And
That's
he did
correct.
that in a purposeful manner. Want to tell me when this happened?
This happened on the morning of January 28th,
What time in the morning?
about 8 a.m.
Where were you?
We were over at a mutual friend's house.
What were you doing there?
I was driving by to pick up my rental car I had let my boyfriend use to take his friends home.
Okay, so your boyfriend was driving your rental car.
Correct.
Took his friends home. What time had he taken your rental car?
About 15 minutes before that, and I had gone home.
What, were you partying all night?
We were at a friend's party the night before, yes.
So everybody was drinking all night?
Not all night. We stayed there the night prior and came home in the morning.
So everybody was partying all night?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you have a rental car?
I had a rental car because I had been in an accident prior to this about a month before.
When you drove by there, you were driving another car.
I was driving my boyfriend's car.
And he took the rental car to take some people home.
Correct.
15 minutes before you arrived, and what did you go there for?
He was supposed to be right back, so I went to go find him in the car and went to go get something to eat, and I was driving by and noticed that the car was parked there, so I stopped.
Okay, go ahead.
I had also noticed that his friends that were with him that evening had bought beer, and I was upset and wanted to switch cars and wanted to leave. Unfortunately, we ended up arguing. He wouldn't give me my keys so we could switch cars, so I would have the rental car and he would have his car. We argued. People came out of the house. We were arguing quite loudly. Once I got my keys, his car was blocking the rental car in.
So you couldn't pull out?
Correct.
Okay.
Everyone was in a frenzy, really upset, and from the back of the house...
Why was everybody in a frenzy? What were you
It was
yelling
early
about?
in the morning and we were arguing.
What were you arguing about?
Because he wouldn't give me my keys. And once I received my keys, I got in my vehicle, the rental car. The defendant and his girlfriend, which is here as well, came out of the back of the house. She went into the house and he came and punched the driver's side window. I was in the vehicle at the time.
Did he say anything to you?
I couldn't hear. I was in the vehicle. The windows were rolled up.
Okay, so he punched the window. You admit that you punched the window?
Yeah, with an open hand. I hit the window.
Whatever. You admit you punched the window, that the window did not break?
It was
The
the
window did not break.
other window, though.
The window didn't break?
No, I hit the passenger window, though.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but he hit the driver's side window with his fist.
Whatever.
And
it didn't break?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so continue.
He stepped back, picked up a bottle, and threw it against the driver's side window. Fortunately, it did not hit the window. It hit the side panels, causing them to chip and causing both the driver's side and the driver rear side to chip as well. I have pictures.
With one bottle, it caused damage on two sides?
It was like a 40-ounce bottle. There's bottles all over the yard there.
Well, let me see where you say this one bottle caused damage to the car.
I have 3 pictures of the same. It's driver's side. It hit the panels in between the front seat and the back seat.
Oh, I see.
I also have a detailed invoice and an estimate on it as well. Sorry.
And you saw him throw this bottle?
Yes, I was in the driver's side, sitting in the car.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Well, I was sleeping over at my friend's house, and my brother came to wake me up to drink. I guess they'd been partying all night. He wanted me to drink with him. It was about 7 in the morning or so, and I didn't want to get up. I was tired. I was woken up a few more times. A couple of my friends woke me up, people that lived there, telling me to get her out of there. She was in the driveway, roasting her tires and yelling and screaming. Woke up everybody, all the kids and everything. And after about 45 minutes, everybody bothering me to get her out of there, I finally got up and went out there and asked her to leave, and she flipped me off, and then I hit the window, and then she backed out and left. And I guess, from what I understand, before she got there, she had wrecked the rental car because she was driving drunk, and then she walked home and got the other car, and my brother had came over in the rental car because she left after she wrecked it. That was pretty much it, and then she left. And this guy was there with them when they were drinking and partying all night.
I believe they were drinking and partying all
And
night.
he offered to give her a ride home in her car because she was very drunk, and she pulled a knife on him, so he left. That's pretty much it. So
Either one of you two people outside at the time that the defendant
she was out.
Shh, I'm not finished. That the defendant hit or punched the car window.
Yes.
Step up. Go ahead.
When I was there, I went inside after when he
Look
went
at
out
me.
to try.
Look at me. Don't look over
To
there.
try and get her to leave, and I heard yelling outside, so I went outside again, and that's when I seen him go up to the car and I guess ask her to leave, and then I seen him hit the right side passenger front seat window with his palm,
And then what did you see?
and then I seen her exit.
Exit where?
She left.
What time had all the people arrived from the party at your house?
Well, it was a friend's house, maybe around 6:45, I think it was, because I was supposed to get up and leave at 8, and I remember everybody just coming in. It was real chaotic.
Let's talk about before she got there.
It was when, probably, yeah, about 6:45, 7.
And who brought the beer?
I'm not aware who brought the beer. I do know that his brother came in and asked if he wanted to drink, but I'm not sure who brought the beer.
How much beer did they bring?
We didn't even see the beer.
I didn't ask you what you saw.
Sorry. Yeah,
don't know.
that is correct. I did not see any beer. They just asked if he wanted to go drink, and he declined. His brother left.
So you didn't see any beer? No beer around?
No, I did not see.
When they were waking me up, they had beer. I didn't see how much beer
mean-
there was. They had beer in their hands. But
But other than that, I
didn't
did not
see
see a
boxes of beer
12-pack
or
or
anything.
anything like that. Yeah, I did not see any other beer.
Did you see any beer bottles?
I think there was one or two in the recycling bin that had been there, but I mean, nothing. There wasn't bottles strewn all over the driveway or anything like that.
Is his brother still your boyfriend?
Yes, he is. This has caused a lot of problems between us and family issues as well because we both live with his father.
Where's your boyfriend today?
He's in the audience.
Was he present when his brother threw the bottle?
Yes, he was.
What's his name?
Seth Bulkey.
Seth Polkey. Step up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Carrigan says her boyfriend's brother, Jason Bulkey, damaged her rent-a-car in a fit of rage. Jason says Mary damaged it herself when she was driving drunk.
Would you state your name?
Seth Bulkey.
Would you swear him, please?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes.
Take your hands out of your pockets, please. Were you present on the 28th of January of this year when this incident occurred?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer yes or
Yes.
no. Did you see your brother throw a bottle at the car?
Yes, he did.
Where did he get the bottle from?
On the ground, or he brought it out, I don't know.
But you actually saw him physically throw
Yeah.
the bottle at the car?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You may be seated. I have estimate here for $500, which is the $500 deductible judgment for the plaintiff. That's all, $500.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
her acting crazy happens all the time. I try and stay away from her.
I just didn't want to become another one of his victims.
Don't drink and drive.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hamner versus Seaman. Step forward, please.
20-year-old general contractor Jason Kamna is suing former friend, 21-year-old cook Nicholas Seaman. Jason claims Nicholas took his car without permission and was arrested for driving under the influence.
Mr. Kama, you and the defendant were friends, according to your complaint. One evening, he came to your house with his girlfriend. You say he got quite drunk. His girlfriend left. You let him sleep on the couch. You woke up the next morning, found him gone with your car. You got a call sometime later from him indicating he had been pulled over, was charged with driving while under the influence of alcohol, spent the night in jail. Car got a little trashed. Your car was now in the impound. You want from him the money that was spent to get the car out of impound, to clean up from where he threw up all over the car, to fix the damage that he caused when he crashed into something, etc. You want all the money that you spent as a result of him taking the car. The defendant says that he had permission to take your car. And as a matter of fact, you asked him to take your car. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Because you were hungry at 2 o'clock in the morning. He took your car, and it's all your fault because the car did not have updated tags. So the car was pulled over. As a result of that, he was arrested because in addition to your car not having tags, you also caused him to be intoxicated. You caused him to throw up in front of the officer all over your car. You did that too, right?
Correct.
And therefore, it is not his fault, and he shouldn't have to pay anything.
Right, I should burden the expense.
That's his position. Convince me.
Okay, Your Honor. I figure for the last
3 to 4 months.
Let's start with, I got to his house with my girlfriend.
All right, well, I got to his house probably around 10:30, and I probably had, over the whole night, probably about 6 beers.
After the 5th one, who remembers? Yes, go ahead.
I still knew perfectly clear what I was doing. I went to Taco Bell because he asked me to go to Taco Bell. We were kind of hungry. After you have a few beers, you do get kind of hungry.
Just a second. Your girlfriend left.
She had already left. She left about 11:30.
Is this your girlfriend?
Yes, it is. Marina.
Perfect. Step up here for a second. How old are you?
18.
Was it your intention to spend your evening with your boyfriend?
Yes.
Did you leave him at Mr. Kama's house because he had gotten a little intoxicated?
No, Your Honor, I did not.
Why did you leave him at the house?
It was getting late, and I wanted to go home. It was about 11:30, 12 o'clock when I left.
Right.
Nicholas had not been drinking yet. Jason, by the time we had got there at 10:30.
Just a second. If you wanted to go home, why didn't your boyfriend drive you home at midnight?
He was going to stay with Jason.
Was that the plan, or was that the plan once you got there?
No, that was the plan. He was going to stay at Jason's house that night.
Okay, and he hadn't been drinking at all?
No.
Go ahead.
And by the time that we had gotten to the house, Jason had already had alcohol in him.
So Jason was drunk?
Yes, and the reason why I left at 11:30 is to go home because it was getting late, and Jason was being rude to me because he was drinking. And I didn't want to put up with it, so I left to go home.
Jason was being rude to you?
Yes.
Was he being rude to you in front of your boyfriend?
Yes, he always
He
has.
does it quite.
Shh. Go ahead.
He does it quite frequently, Your Honor, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Then why would you put your girlfriend in a position of going to his house for even a minute while Jason was drunk and being rude to your girlfriend?
Your Honor,
I'm not asking you a thing.
Well, honestly, I've been really, really good friends with him throughout the past year and a half.
Wonderful. And how long has she been your girlfriend?
5.5, 6 years, off and on.
And he was being rude to her that evening?
Yes.
Did you hear him being rude to your girlfriend?
Yes.
And what you do is you say, I'm going home with my girlfriend. You couldn't drive, is that right? You have no license.
That's right.
Is
Your
that
Honor.
right? And that's a result of driving while under the influence of alcohol?
The reason I had my license suspended was because I had too many tickets. And
Tickets
actually,
for what?
for speeding. And I was just...
Shh, I'm not finished. So your girlfriend was doing the driving. You bring your girlfriend over for an evening at Jason's house. He's drunk. He's rude to your girlfriend. So you let her go home at midnight and you stay. According to your answer, sir, it was 2 o'clock in the morning when you got hungry. Is that right?
About 1:30, 1:45. It was 2
So
o'clock when we got pulled over.
I'm speaking. And according to your girlfriend, you had had nothing to drink before she left. Is
That's
that right?
right.
So in the span of approximately, according to you, an hour and a half, you consumed 6 beers.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
That's a lot of beers in an hour and a half.
That's true.
So you were pretty drunk.
Yeah. When I
Now-
was pulled over, I was. At the time, when I left the house, I could still walk perfectly straight line.
Okay, so you get pulled over, and you ask for your license. You got a suspended license. There were no tags on the car. Tell me about what happened when you threw up in the car. I
Well,
want to hear all about that.
I figured it was probably just my nerves. I
Tell
was
me about
really,
it.
really
The police
nervous.
officer pulls you over.
When the police officer pulled me over, he comes to the window and he asked me whose car this was. I told him it was my friend Jason Kamna's. And I said it wasn't even 2 blocks away from the house where I got pulled over. When I left Jason's house, there was a cop parked right in the
I
front.
don't care. I want to know when you threw up in the car.
Okay. After he came, he took down all my information and went back to his car. He was going to write out a ticket. He had a ticket in his hand for driving while suspended and uninsured, which I have right here,
I don't need
with
it.
no tags.
I don't need it.
And when he comes back is when I really started getting nervous, and I did get sick.
In the car.
In the car.
That's
So
when he placed you under arrest.
That is when he placed me under arrest. I asked him to
Perfect.
place
You
me
have
under arrest.
all the estimates?
With me, I have the
Well, I only
towing.
want to know what's with you, sir. That's your
Yes,
proof.
I've had an estimate given.
What was the damage on the car?
The damage occurred to the driver's side front and on my parents' house where the car was parked. When you back down the driveway, you need to back down at an angle, kind of, and if you crank the wheel too hard, the front end will hit the garage. And it hit the garage and took a chunk out of the 2x6 that surrounds the garage and put a nice little dent in the front.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I remember this whole night clearly. And every single thing I said to the officer, Everything I did the whole night, and I do not remember hitting that garage once.
That's too bad.
I don't know where this came from.
That's too bad.
And the dent in the left front bumper, he ran into his brother's car about a month ago on the right rear side, and he did not remember running into the car either. That's what he told his brother.
Why weren't there tags on the car?
Because I couldn't pass the Department of Environmental Quality.
What kind of car is this?
It's an 83 Dodge Rampage. And basically it was negligence on my part not having...
What's $575 from...
This resulted after the car, I got it out of impound, and when I got it in to drive it, there's puke everywhere, and there was a knock in the motor, and then the motor seized up. I don't know if that's because when the car was sitting there idling, it tends to get really hot, and if it wasn't shut off, it could do some damage.
I'm not paying for a rental car for you, sir. What other damages did you have?
I had my towing fees, and
I
I
have
missed
your towing
6
fees?
6 days of work.
6 days of work, why?
Because I had no car.
You had no car anyway. They had expired tags.
Well, all I needed was a temporary permit.
You didn't have it.
Correct.
So you had no car anyway.
Well, I guess technically no.
Right. So if your car isn't registered, you have no car. You have to be responsible. You drive a car, it has to be registered, it has to have proper insurance, but that doesn't mean he can trash your car and say it's not his fault because it didn't have good tags. He was drunk when he took it. He shouldn't have gotten behind the wheel of the car while he was intoxicated. He's got to pay for certain basic fees. If you would have had the car cleaned and detailed, I would have charged him for that too.
Your Honor, I offered to clean the car first thing the day I got out of jail. I apologize for everything. We went there to go get the car out of the impound, and we got almost completely there, and we had to turn around because his license was expired. And
So you
I
got in
don't
the
think
car
he had
anyway.
insurance,
Who was driving?
Me.
She was.
I had just taken, we were just getting ready to take Jason to the impound so he could get his car out, and he said, wait, I cannot go. I don't have insurance and I have an expired license.
So he had no car anyway. So who cares whether he rented a car? How did they rent you a car?
Well, the fact of the matter is I did have insurance. And
How did they rent you a car if you had an expired license?
It was not expired.
What was it?
It was valid. It was a valid Oregon driver's license.
Your Honor, he stated clearly to me that it was not it was already expired.
And that he had no insurance.
Well, in order to rent a car in the state of Oregon, you have to have all the proper
I would say so. That's really interesting.
insurance.
That's really interesting that he was able to rent a car. Who knows? In any event, he owes you $243.50. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 112 on the calendar in the matter of Fong versus Chung. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Fong, you tell a very, very aggressive story about actions taken by the defendant, who was then your boyfriend. For some reason, which I'm sure you will explain, you decided that you didn't want to prosecute this case criminally. Is that right?
Yes.
When did this incident take place?
January 27.
Tell me what happened on January 27th.
Defendant Albert Chen, he discovered that I was going to display clothes at a ballroom dance school, and he became very jealous, and
he went with you.
He insisted he had to go. While we were there, he took me into a storage room. He started screaming at me, calling me names. He also attempted to burn my clothes and burn my face using a lighter.
In the storage room?
Yes, he tried to injure me and burn my face.
You managed to get free, according to your complaint, from the storage room. Is that right?
Yes, there are people there, and people knocked on the door. He left, and when I tried to leave, he was still behind my car.
And he got into the car with you?
Yes, so I gave him a ride home. While I was driving, he blew anger at me. He punched in the windshield and tried to break the window. He also pulled the handbrake, tried to stop the car, and he yelled at me and tried to grab me out of the car. He said he wanted to die with me. And there are policemen behind us, and they took him out of the car.
And you were actually taken into custody. Is that right, sir?
No, the police took me out because I have an open can of the beer, and then they thought I was drunk. But
Where did they put you, Mr.
On the
Chung?
street.
They left you just on the street?
On the street.
You left, is that right?
I told the policeman I was very scared. I do not want the defendant to be in my car again. The police officers told me I could file a police report. And
did you do that?
Yes, I went to a local station and filed a police report.
That night?
That night. And an emergency restraining order was granted to me that night.
And what happened when you got home?
When I stepped into my house, it was close to 2 o'clock in the morning. I heard defendant Albert Chen leave a message on my recording. He sounded angrily on the phone. He threatened me to pick up the phone. I did not pick up the phone. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I knew it was him, so I did not answer. And I tried to call 911. And defendant called in my phone at the same time, so I could not dial out. He threatened me to give him $35 for the taxi fare.
For the cab fare?
Yes. I refused, but he threatened that he'll make a scene out of it and wake up my neighbors. So I brought the money out and gave it to him. He forced his way in. Once he's inside, he grabbed me and threw me on the ground. He got on top of me. He twisted my wrist. He injured my spine and my joint. And he attempted to rape me by pulling down and ripping my pants. And I brought my evidence of the ripped and torn pants.
I don't have to see them.
The elastic was broken.
Go ahead.
And I started screaming, and he stopped. For the rest of the night, he abused me by threatening me to drain the toilet cleaner. He forced me to smell lighter gas. He threatened me that if I reported to police, he would kill me.
How did it come about that he left your apartment?
My mother called about 9 o'clock in the morning. The first time he did not let me answer the phone. I said, if I don't answer, my mother will call the police. Then he let me answer the phone. My mother said she was coming over. So then the defendant left. And I called the police and made the second police report. But I told the police officers that I do not want him to be arrested because I was too scared that this guy will retaliate.
Let me see the police report.
This is the first police report. This is the second one. And the bottom is stated that I asked the officer to not arrest the defendant.
Why?
Because I was too terrified.
Then why do you come to court now, Ms. Fong?
Because it's 4 months after, and also putting him in jail is very intense, that he will become very angry and retaliate. I also have the photos of the policeman talk on me. It was kicking on my face that was injured. Also on the damaged carpet, on the damaged closet door, and the damaged portable closet, and also the burned clothes. The policeman also took his lighter and burned clothes for evidence.
All right, Mr. Chung, I have a couple of questions for you, sir, because I've read your answer. Now, there is no question that you did, in fact, pull the emergency brake. Is that right?
Yeah, I did pull the emergency brake, the handbrake, yes. I want to mention why I need to pull the handbrake, because I told her to stop the car because I feel we were arguing in her car and she drives pretty dangerous. That's why
I read your story. That's not a reason to pull the handbrake.
Okay.
She hadn't been drinking that night you had. You had an open can of beer, is that right?
Right.
Okay. So the police took you out of the car. And how long did you stand out on the street waiting for a taxi cab?
Around like an hour and a half.
And you were very angry at that time.
Yes, I was angry.
Then why did you go to her house that night?
Because
there's no question that you went back to her house. Is that right?
Right.
Now, you didn't live with her.
I did not live with her.
Then why did you go back to her house after being very angry? Listen to me, Mr. Chung, because I'm very smart. You tried to get out of the car. She wouldn't let you out of the car, according to you. You were so frightened of the way she was driving erratically that you pulled the emergency brake on the car, according to you. Is that right?
Yes.
The police came and rescued you. Is that right?
No,
they rescued you by getting you out of the car. Is that right?
Right, that's getting me out.
That's according to you. They rescued you by getting you out of the car. Now you're rescued. She can't hurt you anymore with the car. So, quiet.
Excuse
me.
me.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
So you're standing outside it for an hour and a half, and it's very late at night. About midnight?
And midnight.
And very cold.
And really, really cold.
And you don't live with her?
No.
Then why don't you go home?
Because...
No, look at me. Why don't you go home?
Because I was angry, and I heard she told the police I'm making trouble on her, and I was angry. I just wanted to go to her.
So you were angry?
Right.
So now you arrive at her house after having had a little to drink, being out in the cold for an hour and a half, and you're very angry. And what do you do when you get to the house, Mr. Chung?
I want to talk to her.
What do you do? Did you call her and tell her you wanted $35 for a cab?
Oh, I did.
She gave you the $35 for the cab. Is that right?
Right.
Was the cab waiting for you?
They kept waiting for me.
And then you went back upstairs.
Right.
Why did you go back to her apartment?
I was angry, and I know I was stupid. I go back to her house.
So what did you do to her when you got to the apartment?
I argued with her.
Tell me how you argued with her,
Okay.
sir.
I told her, how come she just ignoring me? And when the police come, she told the police just don't know me, something like that, just like her, just like friend.
Are you telling me, sir, that you didn't put your hands on her?
Oh, I never put my hand on her.
No, he's lying.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Manessa Fong says ex-boyfriend Albert Chung injured her during a sexual assault. Manessa says Albert terrorized her over the course of 24 hours.
How long did you stay there that evening?
All night.
Did she ask you to leave?
She never asked me to leave.
That's a lot of baloney, sir. That's baloney. Because even if you were only arguing with her verbally, she would have asked you to leave.
She didn't ask me to leave. She let me sleep in her living room at the floor. She told me, because I am legally blind, I'm visually impaired, I cannot drive, and it was late, around like 2 o'clock, and she let me sleep in her living room, and next morning she woke me up, and then I left. But we were arguing for a long time.
Right.
Right.
Why do you believe that Miss Fong would have made 2 police reports if you had not threatened her?
Because when the argument, by the time, my language was very strong and insulting her, and she was angry. And I just want to make sure you understand, I didn't do anything physically.
I don't believe that, sir.
her.
I believe that you did something physically to her. I believe that you did. I believe that you went there that night and you were very, very angry.
Right.
And when you are very, very angry, based upon something that you did earlier that evening, you, for whatever reason, wanted her to stop the car, and you pulled the emergency brake up. You could see good enough to pull up the emergency brake.
I don't need to see, I can feel it.
Just like you can feel her face. You pulled up the emergency brake, which means, Mr. Chung, that you have a temper. And what she did later on that evening, which was, according to you, felt sorry for you and let you sleep on the floor of her apartment, that doesn't sound like the kind of woman who would not let you out of a car if you wanted to get out of the car. So you got a temper. You've got a temper.
What's
and I
temper
believe
mean?
that you punched the windshield on the car. Didn't break it, but I believe that you punched it.
I did.
Sure, because you have a temper. And that was before you were standing outside for an hour and a half in the cold at 1 o'clock in the morning. That was before. After you were really mad because she was ignoring you in the ballroom. Right? Good. You better stay away from her because, you see this judge? You may get some very nice judge if you go near her again. You may get somebody who will be very sympathetic with the fact that you tell them that you can't see, you're legally blind, you're a poor soul, all right? You can't put your hands on anybody. Never. In anger. And get away with it. And I'm just very sorry that she didn't follow through. But I tell you something else. If you ever go near her again, ever, it is very possible that you're going to get unlucky and get somebody just like me. Do you understand? And if you get somebody just like me, you're going to go to jail. And they don't care what your handicaps are. Do you understand?
Yes.
Keep your hands to yourself and stay far away from her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000 as requested. Stay away from her.
Thank you, Your
You
Honor.
are excused. You may step out.
I was terrified. The defendant was threatening me if I arrest him and put him in jail, he will kill me and my family.
I didn't do it, and if I did it, after the police did the full investigation, I already been in the jail.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCall versus Wilhelm, step forward, please.
71-year-old Bourbon McCall is suing his former friend, 32-year-old student Sandra Wilhelm, for unpaid loans and the cost of a car. Sandra says Bourbon's lawsuit is an attempt to keep her in his life.
Mr. McCall, it is your claim in this complaint that you were romantically involved with the defendant and made a series of loans to her, including a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Then she broke it off, and you want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
When and where did you meet Mr. McCall?
I met Sandra at a local pub that we both frequented.
Okay. When?
Sometime in March, Your Honor.
And when did you make this first loan?
Well, the first thing that happened, I had bought a computer, and Sandra agreed to come over and download it for me. Then she'd had an accident, and she had picked up a DUI, and her car was wrecked. So I then called her and asked her if I could be of any help to her. She said, well, my mother's got a car, that 88 Crown Victoria. Her mother was asking $2,300 for the car. I gave Sandra $2,300. We went in. She gave us the title. We then proceeded to go down and get it plated and titled.
Did you expect Miss Wilhelm to pay you back the money?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you ever tell her that?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Shh. Quiet. When did you tell her that?
I told her that before we bought the car. I said,
What did you say?
I said, if we buy a car, I'll help you get a car. But I said, I want title to that car. She said, well, how am I going to get plates and insurance and the rest of it? Why don't we just purchase a vehicle? You'll have the first lien on the vehicle so that I'm protected.
Well, the truth of the matter is, you really are not terribly protected. All you are, if you had title to the car, is you're exposed in case she has an accident, in case she doesn't get insurance.
Well, she did that.
I know, but that's a problem. Miss Wilhelm, first of all, how old are you?
32.
How old are you, sir?
71.
Okay. Miss Wilhelm, this, whatever kind of relationship you had with the plaintiff was of relatively short duration. I read your answer very clearly, and your answer says that he clearly wanted more from the relationship than you were prepared to give him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can I see the title to the car, please?
Yes.
Who
I
has
just
the
have a
title?
certificate of title.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's a copy of the title.
And I'd like to see the certificate of
This
title.
is Exhibit B and C showing the registration and the application.
I just want the title to the car.
He has the title.
This is a copy. Who has
Yeah.
the original?
I have the original at home. I just made a copy of it, Your Honor.
Well, that wasn't very smart, sir.
Well,
That wasn't very smart, because I read the defendant's answer very clearly. She says, Bervin's goal was to control me. When I didn't respond to his advances, he became increasingly hostile. Is that true?
That is correct.
It's not true.
Eventually, I told him that he could have the car back because it's not worth the harassment. That's what you wrote. Is that what you wrote?
Yes.
Good. Sign the title over to him. Sign it over. Now.
He has the title.
You're going to sign the copy. We'll conform it. Show where to sign, Bird, would you please? You're getting good at that.
Where? He told me he didn't want the car, Your Honor.
Sign the title over to him.
Signature of seller. And print your name.
Now, give it to him, please. Thank you, Bird. Perfect. Now, let's get to the second part of your lawsuit is you made a series of loans to the defendant. When did they start?
Started after we had purchased the automobile. She just needed money time after time, and I felt like we were committed enough. We'd already committed that we would go to Texas once she got through her ordeal, and that she would move with me, take the kids. She wanted out of Indiana, so did I.
She's 40 years your junior.
Yes, I know, Your Honor.
Very foolish.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very foolish. Do you have a promissory note, sir?
No, Your Honor.
You gave her money for a lawyer.
Yes.
How much money did you give her for a lawyer?
$500.
That's not true.
You gave her money to pay her mortgage.
$500.
Did you ever get a note from her for any of those things?
No, Your Honor. I was too involved.
Well, you were too involved, and that's what you get when you're too involved.
That's
sir.
right.
You don't get paid for that.
That's right.
That's stupidity.
Well, I said that to myself.
Well, if you said it to yourself, unfortunately, you got to listen to me say it to you again.
That's okay.
So this was a lesson that cost you perhaps a couple of $1,000s. Miss Wilhelm says that you never gave her any money, I assume. Is that right?
That's correct.
Never gave you any money?
No.
I don't know whether I believe you that he never gave you any money. I sort of think he probably did. In any event, you knew each other for a total of maybe 8 weeks. In the 8 weeks, the plaintiff was out a substantial amount of money. I can't get you back all the money that you were out, sir, because I really feel as if you didn't have a contract with her with regard to these cash loans that you made to her, cash gifts that you made to her. But clearly it was your intention to have a hold on the car, which was the largest amount of money that you turned over to the plaintiff, by having your name placed as a lien holder on the car. That is some evidence of a debt. That is why you got your car back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Rest of your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 109 on the calendar in the matter of Murray versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Mary, according to your complaint, you loaned the defendant $3,500. You knew him from a previous relationship. You want to tell me when you loaned him the money, what was it for, and where did you get it from?
I loaned him the money in the middle of February. We had known each other about a year and a half prior to. We had been dating. It didn't work out. He couldn't commit. We reconciled at the beginning of the year. He came to me crying about the middle of February, indicating that his life was in danger, that if he didn't have this money, he would be hurt. I trusted him. At that point, he said that he wanted to make this relationship work. I took him for his word. He swindled me.
Where did you get the money from?
It was a tax debt that I owe. I took a loan out on my house.
I just said it was a tax debt. What kind of tax debt?
I owe the IRS money from cashing stock in. I took a mortgage out on my house.
Do you have proof of that?
Yes. He knew I was getting a loan for this money. He came to me right about the time it was about to fund.
Let me see.
Your Honor, that's false. I didn't know anything about the loan until after the fact.
He had made an agreement with me, an oral agreement, that he would pay this back before the 15th.
Just a second. Okay, and what date did he come to you in February?
On the 20th.
And what did he tell you that the money was needed for?
I have no idea. He said that his life was in danger. I
You
took
didn't
him for
ask
his
him?
word. I just saw that he was scared.
And you gave him the money in cash?
Yes. He indicated that was the nature of it.
Your Honor, I do have a
Just a
bank
second.
account. I'm able to cash checks.
Just a second. How much was the amount of your tax bill?
$70,000.
Okay. Go.
Your Honor, this first thing I'd like to present this letter, actually, that I have. It shows
A letter from what?
It's a letter, actually, from the plaintiff. It shows a little bit of what her word is, and
Your Honor,
That's-
I have
this-
never mailed him any letters.
it obviously has her. That's the original there, Your Honor, with her signature
I-
at the bottom.
I can't read and listen to you at the same time. Okay, just show this to her. That really has nothing to do with this case.
Absolutely nothing.
Well, that goes to show that her word really means nothing, to tell you the truth, Your Honor. This was not a loan.
Well, tell me what
I
it
had
was,
done
sir. I
work
read
for
your
her.
answer. Tell me what it was.
I had done work for her in the middle of last year. My brother as well was working with me at the time. He was my employee. And we had spoken with her, him and I, at the same time, were present, to do anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 worth of work on her home.
That's a lie.
Skylights, countertop, a tile,
Just a
replace a
second.
double door in the front entry.
Okay, so you had started to do some work on her house.
That's correct.
When did you start to do the work on her house?
I believe it was July 24th or 25th. We worked there
Of
for 3 days.
2000?
Yes.
And how many days did you work there?
We worked there for 3 days, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
On the third day, we had the job almost completely done, the portion that we were doing, and she said, I'll finish it myself. Had never given us any money for materials besides a $500 check. She had not paid us for our labor,
Just a
which I
second.
had to pay
Wait,
my
wait,
employee.
She gave you $500.
A check, that's correct, and that
Well,
was
the
in
check you
July of
cashed.
2000.
Shh, I'm speaking. She gave you a check for $500, and according to you, you worked there 3 days.
That's correct.
Did you have a contract with her?
We had a verbal agreement.
Did you have a contract with her?
I did not, Your Honor.
Okay. Because no contractor starts a job that says it's between $8,000 and $10,000. When you
She
do
had a list.
I'm speaking. When you do a contract, you say this item is going to cost this and that item is going to cost that. You don't believe that the work that you did in 3 days was $4,000.
No, it was not, but subsequent to me accepting this job, I turned down numerous other jobs because I was going to be at this job
You
for
have-
anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks.
You have proof of that?
Not on hand, Your Honor.
Well, that's your defense. That's your defense to this action. So you should have proof. Now you're telling me she just came home one day and said, I don't want you to work on this project anymore.
That's correct, actually, Your Honor. A few days before that, she had told me that she loved me and wanted to be with me. We went to her house that evening. My brother and I spoke with her on doing this work. She had a large list, pulling out bushes, skylights, numerous work around her house that she had just purchased. We told her, well, okay, we can start in a couple of days. We came by on the Monday of the first part of the week. When we showed up, we asked her to open the garage door so we could unload
So you
materials.
didn't have another job right then?
No. I told her I could be there on Monday.
Just a second. So you were free immediately?
No, I
My
told her I could
statement
help
was
her
you
out.
were free immediately. She spoke to you the week before. You were able to start that Monday. So you were free. You didn't have any other commitments.
At present, I did not at hand. She had asked me first. I had other jobs that I went to. That's the main reason why.
No. My question was, and your response is, you had no other commitments that prevented you from starting her job immediately.
No, I did not.
Okay.
My father had just passed away, so therefore I was still grieving from his death. I had been taking care of him for the first part of that year as well.
Mr. Johnson, pay attention to me. This is about money. This is not about
I
your
have a bill
father's
here as well
unfortunate
that I normally
demise.
write up for customers
Okay?
that I work
Now,
for.
don't you understand when my mouth is moving? There is only one voice that I hear.
I do apologize, Your Honor.
Good. Now, if you felt that she owed you money in July of 2000, why didn't you sue her?
I had spoken to my attorney on putting a lien on her house, and work picked up at that time, so I just filed the bill away that I had written up for the initial work that we had started.
Then I'd like to see the bill that you say you filled out then in July of 2000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
For the work that you started.
I do believe there's a legal term for this called quantum merit, Your Honor.
You didn't do $4,000 worth of work in 3 days. I know what the legal terms are. Quantum merit means that you are paid for the work that you do.
That's correct.
This is not the work that you did in 2.5 days.
She gave me a check for $500, that is it.
Pay attention. This is not the work that you did in 2.5 days. That's not what your answer is. Your answer is that you gave up other jobs because you had a job that you thought was going to last several weeks. That's your
correct.
defense.
That's correct.
So what are you showing me this bill for $4,000?
That's the work that we started doing. Halfway through that, she decided to tell us, and I'll finish the job myself, because the first day we arrived on the job, she had a new boyfriend there.
Your Honor, the reason that Did you remove the countertop?
That's correct.
Did you install a new countertop?
That's correct.
One out of three.
What do you mean 1 out of 3?
There are 3 countertops. He installed one, gouged the second one, and left the other one standing
That's
in my
false,
garage.
Your
Just a
Honor.
second. Is it there?
I paid somebody else to correct the job.
That's false, Your Honor. There was one section left not put in, Your Honor, and that was the sink side, and that was the day that she asked us to leave. She would finish the job herself.
I fired him because he verbally assaulted me.
What did he say?
That is
He
false,
quoted
Your
me
Honor.
that the job would take 3 days, cost about $800. We're talking tile on the floor, kitchen countertops, and a kitchen sink.
The initial job that we had quoted was just the surface.
On the third day,
Not to
my
the
stove
countertop.
was still not put in its place. The countertops were, my kitchen was not functionable. He kept verbally assaulting me, making rude
that's
comments
false
to
again,
me.
Your Honor.
Please
I don't want to hear
interrupt
any
me.
interruptions.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Please don't interrupt.
That's a lie. That's a
It is
pure
not
lie.
a lie.
Out. Him. Out. And the next time somebody speaks, I'm going to resolve this case. It's not going to be to their satisfaction.
She's a liar. That's a lie.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? There is not to be any discussion between the two of you, and you are to respond to my questions. That's the way I run a courtroom. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janelle Murray says ex-boyfriend Rule Johnson owes for an unpaid loan.
Okay. You fired them.
Yes.
Did he leave a sink there?
No. I bought my own sink.
Okay.
That's false as well, Your Honor.
Show me the bill.
I don't have the receipts. I had given them to her at the time.
You're a contractor. Contractors have bills. Can I see it,
Checks.
please? Did you buy a sink set, faucet, and plumbing?
I did not. That was to install her old faucet and plumbing with
You
the
didn't
new
do that.
sink.
Just a second. You didn't do that.
No. That was when she called us.
Just answer my question. You didn't do that.
No.
And you didn't buy the sink.
Yes, I did, Your Honor. That's false.
And yet you have no proof that you bought a sink, right?
I've got my witness, which you asked to leave the courtroom.
Yeah, because he has a big mouth. He doesn't know where he is, and he's not coming back.
Well, when a plaintiff lies, I mean, it's only fair to stand up and say when somebody's a liar.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's how I resolve a case when you have a big mouth. Thank you.
Have a nice day, Your Honor.
You may step out.
She couldn't accept the fact that she couldn't have me.
He's obviously very full of himself.
She's been obsessive after my brother. She's stalked him.
Ladies, fair warning.
She's a crazy lady.
Pretty faces and money don't mix.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gilbraith versus Brown. Step forward.
30-year-old electrician Steve Gilbraith is suing his ex-wife, 30-year-old food care supervisor Kristen Brown, for an insurance settlement she received when their marital home burned down.
Mr. Gilbraith, you and the defendant had been married.
Yes, ma'am.
You are now divorced.
Yes, ma'am.
Your claim has to do with some property that was in the marital home. The marital home was destroyed by fire. The defendant was reimbursed for losses in that fire by insurance, and you want to be paid for the stuff that was in the house that belonged to you.
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay. So now I need some dates from you, sir. When were you and the defendant married?
We were married October 7th, 1989, divorced October...
Sure, just a second. I'll ask the questions. When did you separate?
Late 97, 98.
Do you remember the month?
I believe it was in January.
Of 1998. And when you separated, you were living in the home that burned down?
At the time, yes, and then I was asked to move out.
No, just a second. Just answer the question. Don't volunteer. Never volunteer. At the time that you separated, you were living in the house that burned down.
Yes.
The divorce became final when?
On October 29th, 99.
Almost 2 years after you had separated.
Yes.
And 1 month later, the house burned down.
That is correct.
After the final divorce.
That is correct.
Now, what property do you claim, sir, was left in the house when you moved out in January of 1998?
They were personal belongings of mine that the defendant had agreed that I could keep there.
You volunteering information again. I said, what property did you leave in the house?
This is a list of everything, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Galbraith, between January of 1998 and the time of the divorce in October of 1999, had you gone back to the house at all for any of your property?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What property did you go back for?
Mainly at the time, it was my personal clothing and stuff like that. Things that I had left there were items that I was actually working on remodeling my son's room in the house, my tools and stuff like that. The majority of what I took out was my personal clothing at the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see a large document in there. Is that your judgment of divorce?
I have my the degree of dissolution here also.
I'd like to take a look at it. This says that at the time of your divorce, you and your wife had allocated all property that belonged to each of you.
That's correct.
And your judgment of divorce says that at the time of this agreement, you have decided whose property belongs to whom, and whoever has physical possession of that property now is the owner of that property. Did you know that?
Yes, ma'am.
The husband and wife agree that each party shall retain as his or her own, free and clear of any claims of the other party, all items of household goods and furnishings presently in his or her possession. That's what it says. So, at the time that the house burned down, sir, all the property in her possession was hers.
The power tools that were in the house I was using to, like I say, to remodel my son's house. Those are tools I use every day on my job. The items that was in there were items that we, her and myself, had agreed verbally that she would allow me to keep there.
Then you put it in this agreement. Did you have an attorney?
At the time, no.
Should have. You signed this.
As I said before, we had a dissolution, and it was an agreement between us in the best interest of our children to keep everything. We've been friends for over 20 years. We tried to keep it in the most friendly possible way we could.
That's fine. What I'm saying to you, Mr. Gilbraith, is that you keep it as friendly as possible. But when you outline in an agreement all other property, you talk about the house, you talk about the car, your truck, it names the truck, it names the year of the truck, the make of the truck, the model of the truck that you're going to keep. It talks about the car that she's going to keep, that she's going to keep up the insurance. You have to do certain deed transactions. Talks about all of those things. And then it talks about personal property. And if you had any personal property in that home, you'd just as easily say, listen, we have to put in another paragraph and list all this property that I have in the home that belongs to me. That's very easy. Didn't anybody tell you that, sir? Am I the first person who's told you that?
No, ma'am. I just, as I said, I assume being friends that we were, that I could take her on her word.
Did you give him your word that this was all of his property?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
This list, which was made April of 2001, well after the fire.
That's how long it took me to get all of the records and inventory from the insurance company.
It may be, sir, but you had no insurable interest in the property as of the date of your divorce. Because as of the date of this divorce, you were not the owner of any property that was in her possession. It's a simple legal matter, unless she acknowledges that she was merely holding this property for you. You acknowledge that?
No, ma'am.
However, she knows the tools that were in my son's room and all my stuff that was there in that room was being done for her in regards to the remodel of that home, which I had promised I would finish. Unfortunately, a fire happened in the home before that.
That may be. But you're not suing under that theory that you were a workman doing renovation in the house, your tools were there when it burned down, and therefore those tools should be covered by her insurance.
It also says in my agreement any inheritant material that was in the house was also mine.
You're talking about under miscellaneous?
Yes, I had things that were given to me by my deceased mother and etc.
As to Gilbreth, don't pull my leg. Okay. The section that you're reading says the parties agree that each shall retain as his or own, free and clear of any claims of the other, all items of clothing and personal effects presently in his or her possession. The parties further acknowledge and agree that neither party shall have any enforcement rights to the other's inheritance or expectancies, and all future inheritances and expectancies shall remain the property of the inheritor, which means that if somebody dies in your family and leaves you money or property, she cannot claim any of that property. That has nothing to do with your power tools.
No, it has to do with quilts that were made by my mother and my grandmother.
You should have gotten them out before 2 years. Those were not power tools. You don't redo your son's room with quilts.
No, but that's things that she had stored.
Mr. Galbraith, this is a very simple case. You were divorced. At the time of your divorce, the judgment's divorce said all property that you each have in your individual possession belongs to each of you individually, free and clear of any claims by the other. You had the opportunity at the time of the divorce to include this list as property that was in the house that you intended to get back, that it was an agreement with the defendant that you would get back.
She knew
Very
that.
simple. I said including in the judgment of divorce. You did not do that. If you did not do that, you had no interest in any property in her home. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 56 on the calendar in the matter of Ellison versus West. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Ellison, you and Miss West were friends.
Yes.
Your complaint states that you had an argument over something.
The children.
And subsequently you were receiving some harassing calls. You decided that you needed some protection, so you got a dog.
Yes.
It is your claim that the defendant, in retaliation for something, enticed the dog onto her property and subsequently adopted the dog. You want the dog returned to you?
Correct.
Or its value?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you lived in the same neighborhood?
About 1.5 years, 2 years.
Is that how you know her, from the neighborhood?
Yes.
When did you get the dog?
The 15th of March.
Where did you get the dog?
I used to be a dog groomer by trade, and one of my former customers asked me to take her because her daughter had very severe allergies. I had to get rid of the animals, unfortunately.
What kind of dog is it?
She's a Dalmatian black lab mix.
She's a mutt?
Yes.
So you took the dog?
Yes.
Didn't pay for the dog, but you
No,
took
ma'am.
the dog. Where did you put the dog when you brought the dog home?
We tied the dog outside in the front because we were having a lot of harassment problems.
Is it a fenced yard?
Not in the front, no.
What was she tied with?
She was tied with a brand new chain and collar and that we bought her before we bought.
Did the dog have a license on the collar?
No.
So that there was no identifying mark on the collar?
No.
What time did you come home from picking up the dog?
About 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And what time did you find the dog missing?
I didn't put her out until about 9:30.
At 9:30, you found the dog missing?
Yes.
What did you do?
First, we went out searching for her all over the neighborhood. And my husband said, she's probably down at Cindy's. At first, I didn't think Cindy would, go that low, but she did. And we made signs, and we put the signs out early the next morning. My husband...
Where did you put out the signs?
On the telephone poles, one being right beside her home, and another one down the street, and all up and down Galbraith Road, which is the off street from where we go to.
Okay.
I called the SPCA, who had told me that the dog wasn't there yet. I have a lost dog report where I filed the lost dog report that morning.
I'd like to see it, please.
I also got a copy of the sheltered animal report. When I went to go to the SPCA on the first day, the very next morning at 10 o'clock, the animal was not there yet. It wasn't until 1:35 until the animal was picked up by Cindy. She called the SPCA.
We'll get to her in a second. Okay, now how did you find out the dog was with Miss West?
My daughter went to a local pharmacy around the corner from where we live, which views the backyard of Mrs. West's home. She came in crying, saying that Lacey was in Cindy's backyard. So we went back in the back alley.
When was this? How many days
that
later?
was a week. It was on the 28th.
Okay.
I said, okay, let's go make sure, Ripley. I said, because, we want to make sure before we call the police.
Okay, so the answer is, was your dog, and did you call the police?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Called the police? You went to her home with the police?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And she showed the police the adoption papers because she had since adopted this dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. West, when did you find this dog?
On the evening of the 15th, had to be about 11:30 at night. It was running freely through the neighborhood. I have a videotape where this dog ran, in an hour and 15 minutes, it ran 17 times through my yard.
Why would you videotape this dog?
I have a security camera on my house because this woman continually harasses me.
Is it on all the time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I called the SPCA. It was running out in the street, back and forth in the yard. And I opened the door and I said, "Hey, puppy," and the dog walked right in my house. Then, I believe it was Monday, I had called to see if the owner had claimed the dog, and they said that no one had called for the dog, and I went down to see her. Owner has 5 days to claim. I waited 6, and then I went with my son and adopted the dog.
Did you see any signs that Miss Ellison put up in your neighborhood?
No, that's a complete lie.
You didn't see? No, I don't know whether it's a complete lie or not.
I didn't see any.
The answer is you did not see any signs. Okay. Now let's get to your counterclaim for a minute.
Okay.
Your counterclaim is that the plaintiff vindictively called Protective Services, uncross your arms, called Protective Services and said things about you with regard to your children, causing your children to be removed from your custody for over 3 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'd like you to tell me about that because that's your counterclaim.
Yes. In the period when we were friends, there were several times that she stipulated to me that no matter what happened, not to call 241 Kids because she runs a very filthy household. And so we had agreed to that. If we hadn't, I'd have called Children's Services before she did. But I give my word,
I don't want to hear you. Go ahead.
On March 1st, Children's Services knocked on my door claiming that they had got a report for a filthy house. Supposedly there was garbage in my house up to here, that I beat my kids, that I didn't feed my kids, and several other allegations.
Okay.
And my children were removed from me until there was a parental screening done.
Just a second. That's not what Protective Services does. They don't come in, remove children for 3 weeks while they do an investigation. When they receive a report, they come in and they say, "Can we come into your house?" And they come in and they make certain observations. So if they came into your house, they must have found your house filthy.
No.
Did they speak to your children?
Yes.
And it was at that time that they removed the children?
My children weren't actually...
Answer. Was it at that time that they removed the children?
They were placed under a safety agreement.
Okay. So they allowed the children to remain in your home under an agreement with you. Is that right?
No.
With whom?
My children were not allowed to be left alone with me whatsoever. I either had to have someone stay with me or they had to go to my mother's.
Okay. So they were allowed to stay with you if there was someone else in the house. And that was after they spoke to the children?
It was...
After they spoke to the children?
No.
Wrong.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth Ellison says neighbor Cynthia West stole her dog in retaliation for calling child services. Cynthia is countersuing for defamation of character.
When was the agreement entered into that you would not be left unsupervised with your children?
On March 1st.
So this is before the dog disappeared?
Mm-hmm.
Was there an investigation?
Was there an investigation?
That's my question.
Yes, I have an open case.
So your case was not marked unfounded. It is still an open case.
I can explain to you why.
Just answer my question.
Okay, yes.
The case was not marked unfounded, which means that there was no merit to the claims. It was an open case, which means it's still outstanding and subject to investigation.
It'll be closed the end of this month.
Who knows?
I do.
Do you have any reports from social services?
That's confidential information. It would have to be subpoenaed.
So that you don't have them?
Exactly.
Do you have any initial reports that were furnished from social services?
Those are not public information.
Okay. Is this the first time that social services has visited your home?
Oh, yes.
The first time?
First. Very first.
Why would you and the defendant talk about not calling social services? I mean, I've had lots of friends in my life. One of the things that we certainly never talked about was never calling social services about how we are as parents. We talked about a lot of other things. We complained about our husbands, the local market, but we never had a discussion about social services. Why would you have an agreement with her not to call social services, Miss West?
That was a stipulation that she set down, not I.
No, it was a stipulation you set down by
Now,
being
okay,
a drug
just a second.
head.
Miss Ellison, you interrupted again, but I'm going to come
I'm
back to
sorry.
you for a second. I'm not going to ask you whether or not you placed this call.
It's an anonymous hotline.
It was because it's an anonymous hotline, so I'm not going to ask you whether you did or not. But it is your belief that because she thought that you placed this call, she retaliated by taking the dog.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have proof she took the dog.
Let me see.
This is a Coleraine Township Police Department police report. If you would read it, you would see at the bottom, it states that she admitted taking my dog.
Let me see.
And she also knew it was my dog. She told him when she got there. When he got
Don't
there.
tell me what she told him. I'm looking at it.
Sure you don't have a copy of that?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to give both of you 1, 2, 3, then you're out of here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Did social services come to visit your house?
Yes, ma'am. I have a copy of my...
Can I see it, please?
Human resource.
Because I
thing.
see that after she believed you called
you can
on
also,
her.
Yes, she did.
She
called on
you.
me.
All right.
May I comment?
Sure.
I did not make that call. I'm not the only person that knows she runs a filthy house.
Okay. All I can tell you is she has this document here, which you clearly do not have, which indicates that her case was immediately closed.
They made a surprise visit, just like her. Sorry.
I like to conduct a very orderly place. Clean, neat, and orderly.
Go ahead.
You don't have this, that your case was closed, is that right?
No, because my case is still ongoing. Would you like for me to answer that why? You had asked me that before.
Sure.
The reason my case is ongoing, part of the social interaction with her and I, we'd smoked marijuana together. I was a recreational user. She
That's
gets high
a lie,
all
Judge.
day,
I don't
every
want to
day.
hear.
That's what...
Shh, shh. Listen to me. Case closed. Case still open. That's the objective fact.
Because I admitted to my recreational use is the only reason I have an open case.
Because they caught you at the door, you and that Nicole, your
listen.
witness, smoking a joint.
Listen to me.
And you know what
Don't-
happens in my house, huh?
You don't understand? You're going to both be out of here. Well, Miss West, police officer attributes the following to you. She stated that Miss Ellison had her kids taken away, but all she did was take away her dog, Miss Ellison's dog. So she, quote, went pretty light on her. That's what you told the police.
Can I respond?
Yeah, the police don't lie.
Well, no, I'm not going to lie.
Shh. You don't get it. Yes, I'm waiting for you to respond.
Okay. This was after she had come to my backyard and was cussing and hollering that I had her dog. That was the first point at which I was aware that this dog had previously belonged to her. And I did tell them that, but like I said, it was after that she had pointed out to me, you have my dog, and a few other explicit words mixed in there. But she had pointed that out to me. So at that point, I did know that it was her dog. But that was the first time that I had knowledge of that.
Who knows? Okay.
Nobody tapes a dog in a video yard.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I want you to be quiet.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
I have several things to consider. Right now, the dog has been with you for quite some time. Dog is integrated into your household?
Yes.
And you, I assume, take good care of this dog?
Yes.
Good.
No.
I don't want to hear from you yet. I'm primarily concerned about the dog, the children involved. Right now, she is the legal owner of that dog, and your lawsuit wants either the return of the dog or the value thereof, which you place at $500. Quiet. That's what your lawsuit says.
The lawsuit is for, the $500 is for harassment. We would like to have the dog back. That's all we've ever wanted.
What I'm telling you is, she is now the legal owner of this dog, and I have to make a judgment as to how I'm going to resolve your lawsuit. I believe that there is a substantial possibility that Miss West did, in fact, come to your property, unchain the dog, and take the dog. That is a possibility. It is also a possibility that the dog got free.
I agree.
And was, in fact, roaming around. What she did was she did not secrete the dog. She brought the dog to the ASPCA immediately. You had an obligation to be vigilant and you could go to the ASPCA every day to see if the dog was there. The dog, I'm
called
speaking.
every day.
I don't care, call. I'm speaking. You had an opportunity to go to the ASPCA every day for day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look for your dog. You did not do that. So put your hand down. So since the dog has been in her custody, you had an opportunity to go and pick up your dog. You did not do that. She did not hide the dog. And there is, again, that possibility that your dog did, in fact, get out. Just get out. She probably knew it was your dog. Not sure. But I don't indulge myself in potentials or possibilities. I'm speaking. So I am awarding you $500. Even though you did not pay for this dog, I believe that Miss West knew or should have known that this was your dog and that there was a bit of retaliation in her keeping the dog and not calling you and letting you know that she had found the dog, and that there was something sneaky about the way she went about going there and legally adopting the dog. But she has legally adopted the dog. The dog is hers. It has been with her and her family for a long time. Now, Miss West, I'm going to get to your counterclaim, which I am dismissing. What state do you live in?
Ohio.
The state of Ohio does not remove children from their home without cause for 3 weeks without taking a parent to court. Period. End of discussion. No state does that. The state may say, I'm going to give you a warning, clean up your house, but if the state of Ohio is still part of this union, there are certain due process rights that you have. And if your children were removed from your home, as you state in your claim, as a result of what is an anonymous call, and it may well have been Miss Ellison who called. May well have been. But it doesn't make any difference. She did not remove the children from your home. The state removed the children from your home, which means that they found some cause to remove the children from your home. Since you do not have the paperwork to show me what the cause was, I have to assume.
I do have. I do have.
Well, you do have now. Swell.
I do have the paper for the safety agreement. I do not have the letter that she has. I left that at home.
I don't want to hear the letter for the safety agreement. I want a report from the state indicating why they removed the children from your home.
This is what this is.
Well, I'll take a look at it. That doesn't look like, I don't want to hear from you. You're finished.
Okay, no problem.
Well, they clearly found you using drugs.
I admitted to it. They asked me
Whether
the
you
question.
admitted to it or they found it. One of the stipulations was adults will refrain from all illegal drug use in the home. Who else lives in the home other than you and your 2 children?
My husband. Nicole's staying with us right now.
Excuse me?
Nicole Lake, this lady right here. Her mother left and went to Florida, so she's staying with me.
She was the one
so
they
she can
found
stay.
doing drugs.
Shh. Don't want to hear you. What are you showing me? I read this already.
In the highlight, it shows that Miss Ellison admitted to being the one who called 241.
What difference does it make? The police had cause. The police had cause to remove your children. They either saw or you admitted to using drug use. And listen to me, Miss West, I'm not stupid. If the authorities came to your home and found nothing untoward in your home, found you perfectly straight,
they did.
Making matzo ball soup in your kitchen, right? And you just volunteered to them that you used drugs, volunteered to them, you must think that I was born 2 days ago. That's not what happens. They had evidence. They either found you in a condition of being under the influence, they smelled something in your home, they found something in your home, something happened, and then you admitted that you used drugs. But a normal person doesn't invite authorities into their home and say to them, let me tell you everything. Sometimes my house isn't neat and sometimes my kids' clothes aren't clean, but the worst thing that I do is use drugs. We understand each other. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's
Thank
all.
you, Your Honor. Parties are excused. You may stand. This is case number 59 on the calendar in the matter of Ladd versus Lindquist. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Ladd, according to what I've read, sir, you went into a tavern and you had half a dozen beers, maybe 4 or 5, ordered a large pizza to go, and as you were exiting the tavern, there was some sort of an altercation with the defendant. Then you claim outside he assaulted you seriously. Is that right?
That's correct.
His ultimate defense is there was some sort of a verbal altercation. You bet him $20 that you could whip his butt, and you did. That's your defense. So that it was a fair fight outside. That's your defense.
It was a fair
that you
fight,
won the bet.
No, I haven't been paid.
That was cute, Mr. Lindquist. We'll see. All right, Mr. Ladd, had you ever seen this gentleman before?
Just as a patron of the bar,
What time did you arrive at the bar?
approximately 7 o'clock,
And what time did this assault take place?
9:30.
So you were there for about 2.5 hours.
That's correct.
So what happened when they give you your pizza, you pay your tab, and you start to walk out?
Well, it's very busy as I'm going through the crowd. Supposedly, I bumped in to his girlfriend, which was sitting on a bar stool in the aisleway to go out the door. Supposedly, Mr. Lindquist confronted me about...
Not supposedly. Listen, stop with the supposedly. You tell me what you remember of that evening.
I remember
Did you remember poking her with the box, with the pizza box?
I don't recall that because it was so busy. I probably bumped several people basically going through the crowd.
Okay.
There was a small aisleway to walk through.
What did he say to you?
I can't recall his exact words, but he confronted me about poking his girlfriend with the pizza box. He threatened me with ripping my throat out.
That's a threat. Go ahead.
At that point there, I exchanged words of the mouth, so I told him to back off, and there was some adjectives that were basically said.
By you?
Yes.
Okay. And did you continue to leave?
At that point, yes, I did.
He hadn't put his hands on you at that point?
No.
You walk out the front door. How far did you get? Was there a parking lot outside?
I was parked on the far end. This is a strip mall.
And were you at your car when this assault took place?
No, I was walking down the sidewalk.
And tell me what you recall.
What I recall is being hit in the back of the head, very hard. I thought it was a beer bottle. I have a medical report.
Then what happened? I'll look at all your reports in a minute.
I was on the ground. The defendant was on top of me. He struck me several times in the side of the head. I put my hands up, tried to defend myself. That's when the individual basically bit on to my right finger. As the individual was biting me, with the pain and the shock and everything else, I was grabbing his face, trying to make him to stop.
But you were on the ground?
That is correct, with him on top of me.
Go ahead.
At that point, somebody, if I recall, yelled that the police are coming. The individual let go of my finger at that point and struck me several other times in the side of the head again and got up and ran into the bar.
What happened when the police arrived?
Because this was a bar brawl, from what they call it, they stated if I wanted to press charges on the incident. At first, I said, yes, I do. The individual, which was the officer, explained to me that because there was no witnesses and this was mutual combatant and their part of what they considered.
Why, had they interviewed the defendant?
Well, there was another police officer inside the restaurant interviewing him.
Okay, go ahead.
They stated that they would have to put us in detox for 72 hours.
Because you were drunk?
I was not drunk at the time. I have my witness which will state how much alcohol I consumed within the 2.5 hours to my body weight. of 225 pounds at 6'2".
How many beers did you have?
I believe it was 4.
Okay.
The officer stated that to the fact that he would have to charge both of us with assault.
So that you decided not to proceed.
Because of the 72 hours, I am an instrumentation and control specialist in a nuclear generating power plant. I was scheduled to run certain tests. I could not afford not to be there.
So you decided not to press
That
charge.
is correct.
Okay. Can I see your medical reports, please?
Sure.
When did you go to the hospital?
My sister-in-law picked me up that night. These are my medical records. Would you like the expenses also now?
Not yet. Did you get any police reports?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to have them too, please. Thank you, Bert. Now I'd like to hear your version of the events.
Well, Mr. Ladd was walking out of the bar,
What time did you arrive at the bar?
9 p.m.
Your girlfriend was with you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I asked him, "Are you leaving so soon?" And he had said yes, and unless Kathy will buy me a beer, as he had his pizza box and poked her in the back. And didn't like what he was doing, and I says for him to stop that. He made a foul-mouthed remark that I don't care to repeat.
Well, repeat it.
He said he effed her in the and not to worry about it.
Right.
And that's when I made the comment that I'll bet you 20 bucks that I'll take you outside and kick your butt. And he walked around the corner and stood where the waitresses stand and motioned me like, well, come on, are we going to do this? And I followed him around, and he walked down
Why
this...
did you do that? He's gone. He's leaving.
He's motioning me and egging me on, and he had bet me.
No, no, no. He didn't bet you. You bet him.
Well, he agreed to the bet.
Go ahead.
Got out the door, walked down the... He walked down at least 50 feet.
Right,
And
so
I'm
he's leaving.
He's leaving.
And his back is towards you.
No.
Well, his back has to be towards you, sir, unless he was walking backwards.
No, he was making remarks
His
as
back
he,
has to be towards you as he's walking, sir,
he
because...
was turned sideways.
So he's walking sideways, like
Walking
a crab.
sideways. Walking sideways, talking to me.
All right,
or
go ahead.
Saying bad words. He sets his pizza box down and invites me on, are we going to get this done? When we first came together, he reached out and he grabbed me by the face as we were standing face to face, shoulder to shoulder. And
You weren't
started,
standing shoulder to shoulder to him, with him.
No, I wasn't. But
No. You weren't standing shoulder to
square shoulder to shoulder, square shoulders to square
Right.
shoulders. Reached out, grabbed me by the face.
Why? Why?
I don't know. I just imagine that to be face to face.
Well,
Face to neck. Go ahead.
and he kind of grabbed my face to where I couldn't really get near him. We were going to fight. He grabbed inside my mouth and underneath my chin and started pulling me to the ground. And whether I bit him or he got cut on my teeth on the way down, I just happened to come out on top.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nuclear power plant worker Scott Ladd says he was assaulted by Del Lindquist after exchanging words with him in a bar. Del says when Scott insulted his girlfriend, he beat him up.
Which one of you ladies was present during the course of this altercation?
I was.
Can you step up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Lisa.
Lisa what?
Lisa Tyson.
Ms. Tyson, do you work at the tavern?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do there?
I'm a bartender.
You know both of these gentlemen?
Yes, I do.
You ever had any difficulty with the plaintiff at the bar?
No, I haven't.
You ever had any problem with the defendant before at the bar?
Yes, I have. I've witnessed him making verbal remarks to other customers that would talk to his girlfriend.
Like what?
He told this other guy who was talking to his girlfriend that he wanted to rip his throat out.
He likes to say that. Clearly.
I guess. But then I immediately went over there and confronted the situation, and I warned Del that if he decided to fight in the bar or in the parking lot, he will be 86'd out of the bar for good.
Did you hear any interaction between the two of these gentlemen?
No, I didn't.
Did you wait on Mr. Ladd that evening?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall how much alcohol he consumed?
He had about 4 beers.
Have a seat. Thank you very much. You have any other witnesses that you want me to hear, sir?
Yes, I do. I'd like to have the manager of the bar step up.
Tell me your name.
Deb Miles.
Miss Miles, did you witness any part of this incident?
I was not outside. I did not see that. I was chatting with Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, and another gal.
This is girlfriend.
Right. Next thing I knew, a waitress from the dining room came out and said that there was a fight going on outside.
So you really didn't see anything?
I did not see that, no.
What did you want her to testify to?
I don't want to testify for her, but Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, knew nothing of this incident. She can support that claim for me.
Oh,
just
a second. Did you ask her what they were doing outside?
I asked her if she knew they were outside.
And what did she say?
She said no. And then she wanted to go outside. And I said, no, you have to stay in here, Kathy. You've been drinking. Don't go out there. Just stay out of it.
Was she drunk?
She had quite a few, in my opinion. I didn't personally serve her, so I don't know for sure.
Did she say anything about anybody doing anything untoward to her that evening?
No, no. We were just chatting, and the next thing we knew, this fight was going on. So we didn't hear any argument, anything like that.
Step up. What's your last name?
Dubé.
What do you remember?
I didn't see nothing outside, but I do remember him walking by.
He walked by, and what happened?
He said to him, leaving so early, he said, yes, I've had too much to drink. I'm going to take my pizza and me home. Unless Kathy wants to buy me a drink, poke me in the back. And it was real crowded. And I was talking to the manager, Michelle, on the right hand of me, and Debbie was down a chair from me.
Right.
And then I just started talking to Michelle, and then all of a sudden I heard him telling him to quit poking me in the back, and then as he was walking away, that's when he said what he did to me.
Which was?
I don't want to say it.
Well, I'd like to hear what you
I just
heard him
heard
say.
it. It just,
Really? Well, that's a nasty thing to say.
Yeah.
Did you think he was drunk?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were you drunk?
No, I probably had 3 beers.
3 beers in a half hour?
2.
Maybe 3?
I just got there.
Well, maybe 3 beers in a half hour. And what about Mr. Lindquist? What did he have to drink?
We probably had 2.
Maybe 3. Well, the officer indicates that both suspects were intoxicated, and the effects of alcohol was very obvious on both of them.
Can I make a comment related to that?
Sure.
After being struck in the head several times, and with what I believe with a beer bottle.
Did you see a beer bottle, by the way, when this altercation was over?
I did not know.
Okay. So it's possible that you were just hit on the back of the head with a fist. It's possible.
That's possible.
Doesn't make any difference. The medical records indicate that you were injured that evening.
I don't want to interrupt you, but with the injury I sustained in my finger, and the shock and the trauma and everything that was going on, if the officer smelled alcohol on my breath, was establishing 4 beers over a 2.5-hour period.
Doesn't make any difference, sir. I have to believe, Mr. Ladd, that the defendant, without provocation, assaulted you, and without provocation, rendered you, because of your larger stature, rendered you sort of in a position where he could, in fact, assault you, which was somehow getting you to the ground, because you are a larger stature than he is, and that would be smart. Now, being smart would render you on the ground as a result of being either hit on the back of the head with a fist or with something else. Not the way Mr. Lindquist indicates, because the officer nowhere in his report, sir, indicates that you have any scratches or marks on your face. That's really surprising if this assault took place, Mr. Lindquist, the way you indicated.
I have a police report that states that I have scratches.
Let me see. Suspect 1 had minor scratches or scrapes on his face. Suspect 2 possessed open wounds on his fingers and a slight laceration to his forehead. Mr. Lindquist, did you ever hear the expression when you were growing up, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you've had trouble with people talking to your girlfriend before in the bar, according to the bar people?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this isn't an unusual occurrence to you. If you don't want people to talk to your girlfriend, sir, keep her in your apartment. Because if you take her to a bar where people sometimes get a little high, a little happy, and they may say something either in a polite vein or in a seductive vein, or sometimes, according to you, totally inappropriate things. If I believe what you attribute to him, it was totally inappropriate. But the reaction, especially if you know or believe that someone is intoxicated, you believed he was intoxicated, right, Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes.
Then you just let it rest. Then I have to believe that he egged you on. Well, I don't believe that at all. I believe that the guy's taking his pizza and he's going home. He's out of there. You decided to follow him outside, which you did. And I believe that in order to get him in a vulnerable position, you hit him from behind.
In the forehead.
You hit him from behind. If you hit him from behind in the forehead, that's sort of like that. That doesn't happen, does it? You know,
Only in the movies.
Only in the movies. Only if you have very long arms. So you assaulted him. And you hurt him. And you have to pay. Period. And if you can't hold your liquor, don't drink. What were your medical expenses, sir?
I have a report. I do have insurance.
What's your out-of-pocket?
My out-of-pocket is $526.44. They have me on prescriptions yet, anti-inflammatories, to try to still get the swelling down in my finger. At this point...
Can I see your finger, please? Step up. You still have no feeling in the finger?
This finger is totally numb to light touch. The medical report...
Step back.
Sorry.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Just a minute, he's not finished yet. Then you can add whatever you like.
Okay.
You still have no feeling in the tips of your finger.
That's correct. I have lost the movement of to totally squeeze my fingers all together. The doctor, last I seen, said if the swelling goes down over time and with these prescriptions, that it may go back.
Okay. Yes, now you wanted to say something.
Well, if I would jump him from behind, isn't that assault and battery? Wouldn't, you know, if I'm walking out in the parking lot and somebody jumps me from behind and the police come, I think I'm going to make a report or have him arrested, you know, because people...
Sure, unless you're inside with the other police officer who you spoke to that evening, is that right?
Yes.
And I assume you gave him the same cock and bull story you gave me. The way you indicated that you were standing shoulder to shoulder to him and he put his fingers in your face, and so that's how you bit his finger.
He set his pizza box down first.
What?
He set his pizza box down first. And if somebody got jumped from behind, don't you think there'd be pizza all over the place, too?
There might be. Where is there an indication that there wasn't? Where is there an indication
Wouldn't you think he'd want to be paid for his pizza, too?
Are you kidding me or what?
No, I'm not kidding you. I'd be mad if
You
somebody...
got a hot temper.
If somebody knocked me down from behind and knocked my $20 pizza on the ground at the same time, and the police showed up, I would definitely file some charges here.
Well, he wanted to file charges, sir, but you told the police that this was a fight, a barroom brawl, that he actually started with you. He actually put his hands on you first. That's what you told me.
That
you
correct.
Turned around shoulder to shoulder after you followed him out of the bar, and he took his hand and put it in your face, and probably as a result of the heavy pushing, he fell on top of you, and that's how he ended up on the ground, and probably on the weight of you both going down and his finger in your mouth, that's how his finger got lacerated, requiring medical treatment and stitches. That's what you told me.
Yeah, I grabbed
Judgment
his
for the
finger.
plaintiff in the amount of $5,000 as requested. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 52 on the calendar, in the matter of DeFrank versus Russell. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Frank, while you were engaged to the defendant, according to your complaint, you financed a car for him. He couldn't get credit on his own.
Yes.
The engagement was over. He left with the car, and he said that he was going to maintain the car, make the car payments and the insurance. According to you, he stopped making the payments on the car. You repossessed it.
I took the car back.
You repossessed
Yes.
it. And you want him to pay for his missed payments. And in addition, you said that when you got back the car, it was A, filthy, and B, the brakes were bad. So you want him to pay for the brakes and, I guess.
A window was off track.
What do you mean off track?
They had to order a part to put it back on.
Ah.
I have the receipt for that.
And then he has a cross complaint, which I will get to in a minute. When did you separate from the defendant?
October 2000.
And when did you repossess the car?
March of 2001.
And when did he stop making the payments?
He never paid the payment for November, and February he missed another payment, so that's when they started sending me the delinquency notices.
How many missed payments did he have?
2.
Is that right, sir?
I missed one payment in November, and I doubled up on it in February.
You did? You have proof of that?
I don't have it with me, no.
Well, where do you expect me to go to find it? That's what you're coming to court for. You're coming to court because she says that you missed payments. That's what this whole case is about.
I stopped making the payments because she kept threatening, I'm taking the car, I'm going to take the car from you.
When did you stop making the payments?
In February.
So you didn't make February's payment?
I doubled it in February. I didn't make March's payment.
Your Honor, I have the delinquency notice. If you
Can
want
I
to
see it, please?
Yeah. This is for November's, and that's when, for February, they were going to repossess it, so I wasn't aware of that.
Well, according to them, on January 19th, you owed them 2 payments.
I paid one on the 24th.
Of what?
Of January.
Show me.
I don't have my checkbook with me.
Well, then I have to take this as being accurate. Now, what are you doing with the car?
I had a friend of my mother's is taking over payments till he could get a loan.
So he's currently paying on it?
Well, he didn't pay on March. I didn't sell the car till, April, so I paid March also.
Let me see proof of payment for March's payment. $658.13 he owes you. That's as of January.
This was March payment, $331, and I have the right there.
$331 on March 13th. Okay. So that's what he owes you so far, $989. Now, you think he should also be responsible for repairs on the car?
Well, he had, he was supposed to take the loan. He agreed to it, and he never fixed. They were worn down to the rotors. I have the receipts on all of that. I mean, it was returned to me. I have pictures of how it was returned, when I picked it up, how...
I'll take a look at the photographs.
And then I had cleaned it up. I have pictures of that also, what it looks like afterwards.
He's a slob.
Mm-hmm.
So? He's a slob.
And that was, that's my car and how I got it returned. And I had to clean it up in order to sell it, and it was a lot of time for me.
He's a slob.
The car was fine when I had it. I mean, I got a letter 3 weeks after she had it.
Just a second. I'm not talking about the mechanics of fixing it. You have a car that's a couple of years old. Sometimes it needs brakes. He didn't break the window. It was a mechanical thing that happened with the window. Is that right?
Yes.
It's a mechanical thing that happened with the window. All I said was he's a slob.
I cleaned out the car before I gave it back to her. I cleaned it out on March 6th.
Well, whatever. You don't get reimbursed for that, but you do get reimbursed, madam, for your car payments that you made. You were very fortunate that you got somebody else to take over these payments. And I hope it teaches you a good lesson. Do not ever finance a car for anybody. Boyfriend, fiancé, husband, child, nothing. If you finance something for somebody, don't treat it as a loan, treat it as a gift. And say goodbye to your money. Is that good advice?
It's very good advice. I'd like to talk to you later about a loan.
We've known each other a long time.
That's right.
Happily.
That's right.
Forget it.
Okay.
All right, so $989. That's on your side. Now, Mr. Russell, you have counterclaim.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your counterclaim. You want the return or value of a computer. Let's talk about the computer.
On June 8th, she gave me the computer as a birthday gift.
When was your birthday?
June 8th.
And tell me how she gave it to you.
We both went down to the store and purchased it.
What did you give her for her birthday?
Engagement ring.
That was nice. And when was her birthday?
May 19th. March 19th, I'm sorry.
March 19th. So she got the ring first?
Yeah.
And then she bought you the computer?
Yeah.
How'd she get it back?
On October 13th, I caught her with someone else, so she moved out. And the next month, she came and got her furniture. Now, if the computer is hers, what?
Just a second. That was in November. She came and got her stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So far, you still have the computer?
Yeah.
When did she take the computer?
When she came to get the car, March 7th.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, that's when, because I had a police escort, and when I went to go get
When you moved out of the house?
Yes.
You left the computer.
Because he told me that he had stuff to delete on it. He couldn't do it right away. So I'm like, you know what? I don't have time.
November, December, January, February, 5 months later, the computer's still at his house?
Well, because I had went away for a little while. I went back to New Jersey. I came back and I decided to get my... That's when I found out about the repossession of the
He says
the
it was a
car.
birthday present.
No, I have the receipt right here.
I believe you have the receipt. He says you bought it for him as a birthday present. Let me see the receipt.
Might have been an assumption.
Just a minute. You bought the computer the day before his birthday. That's a coincidence.
But I mean,
That's a coincidence, and you left it in the house when you moved out.
Because he had stuff on the computer that he couldn't delete right there.
That's an hour. That's 2 hours. That's a day, not 5 months.
Your Honor, the MSN was under her name. I made the monthly payments on that for the online use, and she asked me to ask my new roommate, Matt, if he could put MSN under his name. If the computer was hers, why would she want him to put it under his credit card name?
No, I believe it was a birthday present, because it was better times. It was much better times.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carla DeFrank says ex-fiancé William Russell owes for car payments as well as damages to the vehicle. William says Carla won't return the engagement ring.
On one side, we have $989. That's on your side. On your side, we have computer. That goes back to you. Then you're suing her for the engagement ring, right?
Yeah, that was because she took the computer.
But if you get the computer back, she can keep the engagement ring?
Yeah.
That's very, very nice of you. Great. So you don't want the ring back as long as you get your computer back.
Bad luck.
What?
The ring was bad luck.
Very.
Perfect. Is that the ring?
Yeah, that's
Can I see it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's very pretty. Very pretty. He wants you to have it.
Thank you.
It's yours.
Your Honor, I'm also suing for the $2,000 on the car because I'm selling it to the new person, and the blue book is $9,000 to $12,000. I owe $14,000 on it. So for the $2,000, no, even if he
No,
wrote,
darling.
even if he had
No, darling. Did he have anything to do with finding a new purchaser for the car?
No.
You've sold the car. You came to a price with the purchaser. If you had the car and said, I want to sell it, and whatever the difference is, he would be responsible for, then I would say you jointly get together, get the highest possible amount that you can for the car, and then if there is a shortfall, just like you were a bank, he would be responsible for that. But you can't do that if you found the purchaser. You got it? Good. That makes sense to you?
Makes sense to me.
Good. Okay, so the computer goes back to him, and you get to keep the engagement ring, which you could probably sell. Ordinarily, engagement ring goes back to the person who gave it to you. So I would say that if you're out of pocket any more money, what you do is sell the ring. Okay, now, you want to talk about any rent that you say she owes you, or you just want to forget that?
I want to talk about it.
You want to talk about it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We signed a year lease. She moved out October 14th, and the lease wasn't up till January 14th, 15th, and that's $325 a month as half the rent.
Mm-hmm.
For 4 months, it's $1,300.
When did you get a new roommate?
December.
So she moved out in October, and she paid October.
Yeah.
Did she pay any for November?
No.
She says she paid some in November.
No, she didn't, and she harassed my roommate about it.
I don't give she harassed your roommate. So far, she moves out in October, and if your roommate moves in December, that's at most 1 month that you're out, not 4. You're suing for 4 months' rent. You don't expect to get rent from her and your new roommate.
Well, she's harassing him for her security deposit back. She broke.
Just a minute. She has security deposit?
Yeah,
How much?
$325.
There you go. Leave the place in good condition. That way you have the security deposit.
But she wants that back.
Well, she's not suing for it. So, if you say she owes you for 1 month's rent for November, then you have her half of November's rent, right?
Yep.
Because you have the security deposit. Are you the new roommate? Be neat. What else?
That's it.
Did I resolve this? Wonderful. $998 judgment for the plaintiff. The computer is to be returned within 5 days. That's all. Be happy. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She owes somebody for her breast enlargement.
My breast are already paid off, and I don't need his money because he never gave me any money. He didn't have any money, so I wouldn't go after him for money.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Underwood versus Shells. Step forward, please.
Marceline Underwood is suing 36-year-old postal clerk Sheila Shells. Marceline claims Sheila's son, 14-year-old Jamal, smashed her son's glasses in a fight. Jamal says Justin was teasing him in class.
What's your first name?
Justin.
And yours?
Jamal.
This case is about some broken eyeglasses, and there was some sort of an altercation at school, and it is your claim that the defendant smashed your eyeglasses. Is that right?
Yes.
So why don't you tell me what happened?
We was having music, the 6th period of class, and it was free time. So I was joking around, laughing. I was with another boy. I was like, boys should not wear sunglasses because they look like... And I guess he was in my conversation listening. He happened to have on some sunglasses. So
Was he the only one who had sunglasses on at the time?
I don't really know. I don't think so, but...
What were you talking about sunglasses for? That seems to be like a sort of bizarre...
Because we was talking about each other, but he wasn't in the... and then...
No, I'm not finished with you, Justin. We're going to do this slowly. How many other boys were you talking to?
3.
Do you know their names?
Zachary, John, remember the other one?
Was Zachary wearing sunglasses?
No.
Was John wearing sunglasses?
No.
And this boy whose name you don't remember, was he wearing sunglasses?
No.
So you made a comment about boys wearing sunglasses?
Yes.
And then what happened?
He got up, and then I got up, and we started fighting.
Just a minute. He got up
and came over to me.
He got up and came over to you. And what did he say when he came over to you?
He just started swinging at me.
So he...
Yeah. And then I got up, we started fighting in the middle. Then that's when he knocked my glasses off. Then as he was moving back and forth, he was stepping on them. Then that's when the kids had to hold me back. The teacher tried to, but I guess he almost swung and hit the teacher.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 13-year-old Justin Underwood claims classmate 14-year-old Jamal Shells intentionally smashed his glasses. Jamal says Justin was teasing him.
Now it's your turn, Jamal.
Yes.
So you overheard this comment about sunglasses?
Yes.
You got mad?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went up to him?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you do?
I hit him in the face and knocked his glasses off.
And?
And then we continued fighting. He hit me in the face, and I kept swinging and pounding on him. And then, like a mob of kids, that were in the class, they came and broke it up. And
okay, good. How come you got so mad when he said something about your sunglasses?
Well, that was like 2-3 months ago, and we didn't really get along at the time because he talks a lot and he just gets on a lot of people's nerves.
But what'd you get up to hit him for?
Because he was doing it for a long time, so I just got tired of it.
What was he doing for a long time, Jamal?
He kept egging me on and messing with me.
Like what?
Calling me names in class while I was trying to do my work.
Like what?
Big head, meathead.
And that bothered you?
Yes, because he kept doing it. That's what he does, and I just didn't like it.
But you can't hit somebody because you don't like what they say.
I know, but...
That's not the way to resolve something, by going up and punching him in the face.
Right.
You knew that, right?
Yes.
So what'd you do it for?
Because I was tired of it.
Because you couldn't control yourself?
Yes.
Were you with other boys when he made this comment about the sunglasses?
No, I was sitting down playing cards with a friend of mine. That's when he started calling me with sunglasses and stuff. And I was the only one with sunglasses in the room, so...
Right?
Yes.
Okay, you see how honest he is? There you go. Why were you teasing him?
First, I was not teasing him.
You sure you were teasing him?
He was in my conversation. He should
No, Justin. He may not have been in your conversation, but you were talking to 3 other boys. He was the only one in the class wearing sunglasses. And you made a comment that you knew would be irritating to him. Why?
I don't know.
You didn't think it would make him feel better, did you?
Because we do this we talk about each other all the time.
Well, does he ever talk about you?
Yes.
How?
Fat lion, old fat lion. That's his favorite word. He always would say that.
To who?
Me, in class.
Did you ever call him an old fat lion? Come on.
Yes.
Okay, so you called him an old fat lion. And did he ever hit you?
No.
All right. So, Jamal, that was the wrong thing to do, to hit him.
Yes.
It's the wrong thing to do, to tease. But I gather you tease too. You just don't think that your talk is teasing. You tease each other, right?
Yes.
Now, but for the fact that you punched him in the face, his eyeglasses wouldn't have fallen off, right?
Right.
Then you're responsible.
Yes.
Perfect. So what's the problem? Now I'm talking to your mother. Why didn't you pay for the glasses?
Because I didn't hit Justin in the face.
No, but your son did.
Yes, he did.
Now, as between you and Miss Underwood, he's your responsibility. He's her responsibility. But somebody's going to pay for the glasses. Why should it be the mother whose son did not knock the glasses off as opposed to the mother whose son did?
Because the glasses simply fell to the floor. And from my understanding, the other children, this is what Jamal told me. Another child picked the glasses up and threw the glasses.
Okay, so let's get it straight now.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
What happened?
Even if it's so that that happened, your son was smart enough to just acknowledge to me that but for the fact that he hit him in the face, the glasses would not have fallen off. And they would not have gotten broken, however they got broken. Let me see a bill for the glasses. Where are your glasses? Where are the new ones?
I didn't purchase any new ones.
Why not? Why not?
Well, I was going to wait and see what happened, and I was going to get him some.
When did this happen?
In February.
Are you telling me that your child has been without glasses since February?
No, he was using his old pair.
But that's not the right prescription.
That's correct.
Well, that's outrageous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $211. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 54 on the calendar in the matter of Cozad versus Reyes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Cozad, you work as an attendant for someone who was ill. Is that right?
Yes, Judge Scheinman.
And it is your claim that when you went to pick up some of this person's medical material at the doctor's office, you came in contact with the defendant, who was a receptionist. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And there was some sort of a dispute as to whether you had the right to pick up these records. And there were, according to, I guess, to both of you, words exchanged. You left and was subsequently arrested and
There was no arrest, Your Honor.
Subsequently charged with assaulting the defendant, and you incurred a great deal of expense, lawyers' expenses, court expenses. Those charges were ultimately dismissed, according to you, and you are suing the defendant for malicious prosecution, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant says that you did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for a variety of things as a result of that assault. So that's what this case is about. How long had you been working as an attendant, Mr. Cozad?
I've been living with the particular person involved for about, it'll be 9 years in November.
Is this an employee relationship?
No, Your Honor, we've just been roommates, and he has trouble with reading and writing, and so he assigned me power of attorney in 1998, which I have proof of.
Okay. What records did you want?
The results of a blood test called a PSA.
PSA is for usually for prostate cancer?
Yes, Judge.
Did you call the office first?
Yes, I did. She said that she could not provide me with the results over the phone, but asked me if I had power of attorney and stated that if I had brought it to the office, I could obtain the results.
So what did you do, sir?
I discussed this with Leonard, who said that due to the fact that his next appointment wasn't for 3 months, he'd like to have the results in a more timely fashion. I went to the office, presented Ms. Reyes with the power of attorney document, and asked for the PSA results. She asked me for a copy of the power of attorney form, which I provided her with, and she said she would like to place it in Mr. Park's file. I indicated that was my only copy, and that if she could just take a copy of the original and then give me the results. Then she said she wouldn't do that.
She wouldn't make a copy of the power of attorney?
Right. She handed me the form back, and then I stated to her if she didn't provide me with the results, I would call the police. And then she handed the phone receiver through the window to me and dialed the non-emergency number, which had an elaborate menu, and I asked her to press 0. And then she said, well, I have to go call the police somewhere else. And she took the phone away from me.
How did she do that?
She grabbed the coiled end of the cord that was attached to the base unit on her side of the wall and pulled on it. And I have in the police report that her colleague was there and stated that's what she did.
Okay, now, what's the next thing that happened? You left.
No, I went downstairs to where the pharmacy was, and there's 2 payphones there. And I called the police a second time on the 911 number, at which time they told me that in between the 2 calls, Ms. Reyes had made a call. And did I throw a phone at her? And I told her no. Then I sat down to wait for the police, and her colleague, Ms. came down and sat right next to me and said that the whole...
Don't tell me what Ms. said. That's hearsay.
She sat next to me and talked with me for a while and said that if...
Don't tell me what she said.
Then she went back upstairs, and then 2 officers came. At the time, there was no arrest, and she wrote down some notes on a small pad.
Did you subsequently, sir, have to appear in court?
Yes, Your Honor, I had to
How
appear
many
6 times.
Did you hire an attorney?
Yes, I did initially, Your Honor. I have the receipts and the description of the things that the attorney did for me.
Okay, and ultimately you then had to use a public defender.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did the case ever go to trial?
No, Judge. The case never went to trial. There was no arrest. The case was dismissed at the request of the DA.
Do you have a letter to that extent?
Yes, I do. And
okay. So, what I would like to see first is the letter of dismissal from the district attorney. Then I would like to see your police reports, including the statement of Ms.
Your Honor, the police report also states that there were no marks or injuries
Just
upon...
a minute, I will read it. Don't tell me what it states. Reading was one of the first criteria that I had to pass for this job. So the district attorney decided not to prosecute this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's one thing. Well, this report from the police doesn't really bear out, sir, what you told me. He told me that he pulled the phone back and then threw it in the window towards the cradle. Kozad told me, I guess I wasn't as gentle with the phone as I could have been. He told me that when he threw the receiver, Reyes was near the back phone talking to someone, and he did not see the phone hit her.
Your Honor, I'd like to address that inconsistency, and the fact of the matter is that she was next to the phone because her colleague stated the same thing, that she was next to the phone.
The colleague, Miss, also said that you threw the phone.
Your Honor, what she perceived as throwing of the phone was due to the tension developed between me holding the handset and Miss Reyes holding the cord. I released the phone, and it went back through the window.
Kozad, according to Miss, pulled the phone back and then threw it through the window. That's what she says.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Duke Kozad says office manager Yolanda Reyes had him falsely arrested after he attempted to retrieve his friend's medical records. Yolanda says Duke threw a telephone at her.
She, that's Miss, went downstairs not to comfort you, sir, but to get the license, but to get the license plate number of your car. That's what she went down for.
Well, Your Honor, how would she know what kind of car I drive to do this?
I'm just telling you that there are inconsistencies here with the story that you tell.
Your Honor, the officer, while she did an exemplary job, was a trainee and made other inconsistent remarks on her report,
I'm just telling you,
too.
these are your reports. These are the reports you gave me.
The items in quote, I did say I wasn't as gentle with that phone as I could have been.
And you
Everything
said you
else
threw it.
is the officer's
And you threw
words.
it. And Ms. says you threw it. You asked me to look at Ms. statement. Ms. says that you threw the phone. That doesn't mean necessarily that it hit her, because nobody saw it hit her. And the police officer saw absolutely no bruising on her, nor marks, nothing. So I don't know whether you hit her or not. What makes you think, Miss Reyes, that it's against the law to turn over a patient's records to the patient?
Those are the rules, and I have a letter from the doctor.
I don't give a rat's tutu about... I don't give a rat's tutu about what the doctor's rules are. Doctor's rules are not law. You said to the police, according to policy and the law, patient's records are their records. And a patient wants the test results, and a patient's allowed to get the test results. Period. End of discussion. And if he's got a power of attorney, he stands in the same place as the patient. Right? That's one thing.
Yes.
So you were wrong. He had a power of attorney. Now, my next question to you is, I assume that in a medical office you have a fax machine or you have a copy machine. Is that right?
Yes.
Why didn't you volunteer to make a copy of his power of attorney?
I did. He got mad.
Wait just a minute. You said to him, nicely, when he came in, is that the power of attorney we talked about? I'll take it, let me make a copy and put it in the file.
Exactly
is that
what
what
I
you
did.
said?
Exactly what I did.
Is that what you said?
She said, I'd like to place this in the patient's file, meaning the copy I had. I said, that's my only copy. Could you, I can't release this copy to you. I need to retain possession of this copy.
Did you ask her to make a copy of it?
I don't remember, Your Honor.
I don't know whether she said she had to make a copy or not, because when you got off the phone with her that morning, she was hell-bent on trying to contact the patient himself. So she called the patient, and you spoke to her on the phone and said, the patient's doing the laundry. He cannot come to the phone. Right?
I said he was out. I didn't say he couldn't come to the phone, Your Honor. I said he's outside doing the laundry.
That's exactly what I said. Mr. Kozad, let's not split hairs here, sir. So then you come down to the office after she has tried to get in touch with the patient, I assume to verify that, you know, it's okay to give you the record. She's not able to do that. So I don't think that you were...
Your Honor, she did know because I accompanied Mr. Park to the office on 2 previous occasions to fill out his forms.
I don't care. They don't want to get sued. They don't want to get sued by giving any of his medical history to somebody if they're not absolutely positive that that's what the patient wants, especially if you're not his guardian. You may have power of attorney. However, you had power of attorney that allows you, I assume, to get what you need. Let me just take a quick look at your power of attorney, sir. I'd like to see it. Claims and litigation, personal and family maintenance, benefits from Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and the military, retirement plan transactions, and tax matters. Nothing here says that you have the right to his medical records. You want to take a look at it again?
Your Honor, under item K, where it says benefits from Medicare, Medi-Cal, etc., Mr. Park paid for his doctor's visit with a Medi-Cal card.
Stretching! There's a difference between paying for with a Medicaid card, Medi-Cal card, check, or anything else. It doesn't give you the right to get his medical records.
I'm an error, Your Honor.
You were. So that if Ms. Reyes had given you these medical records, and if Mr. Parks had sued the doctor for turning over those medical records, they would have been unprotected. That's not to say that you hurt her. Now, Ms. Reyes, I would like you to tell me your version of what happened.
I got a call on September 21st around 9:30 in the morning from this gentleman here, Mr. Kozat. He told me, he explained to me, I've been reading an article in the paper in regards to the PSA, and I want to get Leonard's, test results. I said, well, first of all, I don't have that right. The doctor is the only one that can release that information to the patient. He said, well, I have power of attorney. I said, well, as soon as the doctor comes, I will have him call you and release that information to you. He got upset and he hung up. I gave it a few minutes to call the patient and let him know that doctor will give you a call and give them to you, and if you have any questions, you can have all your questions answered.
Okay.
When I called, he said, no, he's out doing laundry, and hung up on me. About an hour later, he shows up, very hostile, irate, demanding that I give him the test results of that PSA of our patient. I again told him, I can't release this information to you. The doctor needs to release this to you. I asked him to see the paperwork. He gave it to me. I proceeded to step just not even 5 feet behind me to the copy machine, and he started getting very hostile at the window.
What did he say?
He said, give me my paperback. No, I didn't say you can make a copy of it. Give it to me right now. He goes, I'm going to call the cops.
Go ahead.
I said, hold on. I gave him back the paperwork, called the police department, handed him the phone. I wasn't on the phone, so I don't know the prompts that you have to go through. And we had another call. There's another phone behind me, say, maybe 8 feet at the other desk. And my medical assistant proceeded to get that call. She had a question regarding one of the patients that was calling.
So you walked over there?
No, I did not. I did not walk. I stood right here, and here's my desk, here's the phone, here's the window. I grabbed the phone, gave him the cord. He stood right at the window, and as I did that, he started getting irrational. Oh, well, I take back those comments that I made about you. I thought you were more intelligent and professional than this. And, you know, I said, wait a minute here. I said, you know, you really need to leave because we had 2 patients coming in. I told him,
you need to leave.
You need to leave and call, you know, the cops somewhere else. I hung up the phone.
You pressed the button to hang up the phone.
To hang up the phone. You know, I thought I was doing him a favor.
Whatever. You weren't doing him a favor.
He stepped a couple feet back, stretching the cord like an angry face, like just trying to break my phone, and then threw it at me, and it hit me here and here.
You were not injured, other than...
Just the phone just slamming me really hard from it going, and him pulling it, because he caused it, you know.
You didn't receive any medical treatment?
No, I didn't. I did not.
Okay. But you decided to press charges against him?
Yes.
Tell me why.
For the mental anguish, because, I mean, after that day, of course, I left. I left my work. Yes, I did. I didn't come back for 2 days.
You were upset? Okay.
And I still proceed to
Your
lock
Honor,
the
she
door.
called her husband, who threatened me in the hallway of the medical office.
I'm not, just a second. Am I talking to you?
No, Judge.
Go ahead. You left that day. Now, what kind of harassment do you say you've suffered since then?
Physically, the public defender came into our office like 5 times trying to tell me we could settle this out of court right now. While we have patients, no consideration for the doctor's business at all.
That can't be attributed to him.
And
his lawyer, that the public defender, sometimes they get a little bit overzealous.
Oh,
Remember
I understand.
those?
They're
Remember
doing their
those?
job, but I mean...
A little bit overzealous. You know, so he comes to your office and he figures he'll make a pest out of himself. You'll say, forget it.
And on the 28th, his brother called me and insisted that I release the chart to him. He said, I'm coming from the airport right now and I'm going to get that chart. I said, no, you cannot come to the office.
You can't attribute that to him either. By the way, did the brother come to the office?
No, we told him not to, and I called the police, and it's stated in here also.
Okay. What else? What other harassment?
Other than just not feeling safe at my place of work, wondering if he's going to walk in, because an hour later he walks through the door.
That only happened once, is that right?
But he's called, yes.
I've never called.
The once that he showed up in the office to get the medical records was this one day that this happened. Is that right? All right, your counterclaim's dismissed. Now let's get to your claim. A, Mr. Kozad, you did not have a power of attorney to get medical records. At least on its face, there are certain specified things that you are enabled to do as a result of the power of attorney, and getting medical records is not one of them. So you were wrong to go there and to confront Ms. Reyes with regard to those medical records, because she would have been negligent had she given you those medical records. I find that by your own statement to the police immediately after this incident occurred, you threw the phone at the defendant.
I never said that, Your Honor. Those were officer's words.
You gave me the report. That was what other officer reported immediately after this incident.
Incorrect, Your Honor. That report wasn't written for 2 days. It's subsequent to the event itself.
This is 9 months later, sir. And 9 months later, your memory is not as fresh as what happened as it is 2 days later. Mr. Kozad, I'm making my ruling now. This is not the time to argue. You, whether you threw the phone at Miss Reyes and hit her, or threw the phone at Miss Reyes, and even if it missed her, that is either an assault or an attempted assault. And I find that you did, in fact, throw that phone through the window, so that she had a right to pursue her remedy and be a complainant in a case. Now, the fact that the prosecutor's office determined, put your hand down, not to prosecute you because they have better things to do, does not mean that the incident did not happen. Certainly, I don't believe that this was a malicious prosecution. You acted badly that day. She tried to do the right thing. She did, in fact, call the patient to try to get in touch with the patient after she spoke to you. I believe that you did hang up on her when she called, that you went to the office, you went with a faulty document. She refused to give you those records. She had an absolute right to do that. You got angry, you threw the phone at her, and she had you either arrested or charged. That is her right as a citizen, and your lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
The district attorney would have came today
Yeah, this is case number 7 on the calendar in the matter of Kydra versus Hunter.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Kydra, according to your complaint, while you were in a relationship with the defendant, you made a loan to him, a couple of $100s.
Yes.
When did you make him this loan and what for?
On January 30th, I received my income tax return. And he was at my house. He had gotten kicked out of his residential drug facility. And after a week of being at my house, he had the option from his parole officer to either go back to the treatment facility or go into clean and sober living. And so he asked me to borrow the $200.
Well, what's the difference between a drug program and the clean and sober living?
He had more freedom in Pancho Villa than he would in the residential treatment facility.
What were you on parole for?
Residential burglary.
What was the condition of your parole?
But I'd have to say in either a residential treatment program or a sober living home.
So why didn't you stay in the residential drug program?
Because I got kicked out of the residential program. For sneaking out to see her.
And for drinking. Don't let him tell you that. It's for drinking also.
No, Your Honor. That's a lie right there. You can call the program and ask. No, I've never given a dirty test since I've been out of prison.
They don't give urine tests for alcohol.
Yes, they do, ma'am. You can call my parole officer and ask him. I cannot drink or be around alcohol, and they test me for alcohol at the parole office and at the program.
Mike, that's why you were drunk at my house moving me.
Okay, did she give you $200?
Yes, Your Honor. She offered me $200.
Okay, tell me about the $200. You wanted to go into this.
Offered? I have 2 kids.
Listen to me. When I look in your direction, that's when you talk.
All right.
And I'm looking at his direction. Now tell me under what circumstances you say she gave you the $200.
She gave me the $200 knowing that I just got out of prison.
Don't tell me what knowing. I don't want to hear knowing.
Okay,
What did you say to her? What did she say to you? You said to her, I need $200 in order to go into this other program, and I don't have it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. And she said to you?
She said to me that you can borrow the $200, but I would have to help her pay it back. She knew that I did not have a job.
Just don't tell me what she knew.
Okay.
She said you would help her pay it back. Pay it back to whom?
Pay it back to her.
All right, let's make this simple, Mr. Hunter. She said that you could borrow the money, but that you would have to pay it back.
Most definitely.
Am I looking in your direction?
Am
I looking in your direction? No. Don't speak unless I look in your direction. She said you could borrow the money.
Correct.
And you would have to pay it back.
Not correct.
That's what you just told me.
I have to pay it back, but not in cash. I was to help her move, watch her kids, pick her kids up at school several times, which I did, take her friend, which is over there to Fairfield, to see a friend of hers that's in the county jail, fix her car, and that pretty much cleared up all the money issue.
When did you help her move?
I forget the exact date that she moved. You remember the exact date?
No, don't ask her any questions.
Okay.
If I want to know from her, I'd ask her.
I forget the exact date.
Before or after she gave you the $200?
This was before she moved.
Just a second. Listen to me very carefully, because I know that you have a little trouble understanding, sir. Did you help her move before or after she gave you the $200?
I just answered your question the same way.
That she moved before?
She gave me the money before I helped her move. That's exactly what I said. She gave me the money, and then I helped her move.
When did you go into this new program?
After she moved. I don't have the exact date, Your Honor.
I know the exact date.
Give me the date.
Here, I cashed my check on my income tax check on 1/30/01. That is the day that he moved into Pancho Villa. I moved on February 2nd. That was not the agreement.
Just a second. What date did he move into the facility?
January 30th.
The same day that you gave him the money?
I took him there.
So you were living in the program on the day she moved?
No, at the program that I was at, I didn't have to stay there every day. I can go out, come and go pretty much as I want.
Did he help you move?
Yes, he did help me move.
Okay, tell me what he did.
He helped take 2 loads of stuff to my house.
Okay, what else did you do for her?
I put all of her kids' beds together, picked her kids up from school. She actually had put my name down at her kids' school as a person to be able to pick up her kids in emergency.
Okay.
Yeah.
And picked up her kids several times. And also took her friend down to Fairfield. The lady sitting over there took her friend down to Fairfield to the county jail to see her friend.
Okay. What did I tell you?
Okay.
There was a period of time when you lived with the plaintiff, is that right?
Correct.
When was that?
That was in the month of January.
The entire month of January?
No.
I'm going to throw you out. Do you understand?
All right.
Next time, we're not talking about a lot of money. It would be very easy for me to just to say goodbye to you. You got it? Mm-hmm. During the entire month of January?
No, only about a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Let's say 2 weeks. And you slept there?
Correct.
You ate there?
Actually, I had some money of my own. I still have my gate money from when I left parole. I went and bought my own food.
How much money?
They gave me $200 gate money.
Even when they threw you out of the program, they gave you
No,
$200?
when they kicked me out of prison.
They didn't kick you out of prison?
Yeah, I mean, when I got
wanted
released from prison, I'm sorry.
You wanted to stay in prison? Huh?
No.
You wanted to stay in prison?
No.
How much money did you give her towards rent in those 2 weeks?
During those 2 weeks, I helped her clean up around the house because I was buying my own food and buying food for them.
Answer my question, sir. I want the question answered. How much money did you give her towards rent when you were living there?
Nothing.
When you went to pick up her children on those couple of occasions, did you use her car?
Correct.
Did you ever use her car for your own personal business?
No, I did not.
Did he ever use your car for his own personal
Yes,
business?
he did.
Of course he did.
Yes, he did.
Where did he go?
He went to the parole officer.
Of course he did. He had to go in and check in periodically with the parole officer. And how did you get there, sir?
I would take the bus.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh, no.
I would hop on BART and take BART and catch the 80
of
bus
course you did.
to Vallejo.
Are you telling me, sir, that you never took her car to go and visit your parole officer?
No, I did not. I got bus vouchers from my parole officer to use.
Really?
Yes.
Very interesting.
She wouldn't allow me to use her car for personal purposes.
Really? That doesn't sound like it was very generous of her.
Well, there's a lot of things that don't sound very generous.
So
about
why
her.
didn't
can
you,
call
what'd you
my
stay
parole
there
officer.
for 2 weeks for?
Well, as she says, the sex was good, pretty much, is why she let me stay there. And
Really?
it was. I was down 22 months, and I stayed there for the same reason.
Really? So you had it all stored up? Right, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Trinity Kiger says ex-boyfriend Michael Hunter owes her for an unpaid loan and the return of 2 CDs.
Not.
And also, can I be allowed to say something about her character? You
No,
can call
I
my
don't want to
parole
hear
officer.
anything about her character. I
Well,
hear
I
enough
believe
about your
I
character.
believe it's very important to deal with this case. Something that you can verify by calling my parole officer and find out.
I'll hear you.
Okay. The night that we broke up, she came down and had my old roommate let both of these 2 in. She came in and punched my new girlfriend in the nose, smacked me around 10 times. The only reason I didn't call the police and press charges is because she had threatened to say that I had beat her up, put bruises on her, and file a domestic violence case against me.
Now, this is very interesting. You're supposed to be in a
sober
clean,
living home.
sober program, and you're living with a new girlfriend.
No.
How did that come about?
My new girlfriend was over visiting
Visiting where?
at the sober living home.
Okay. When? Give me the date.
My parole officer would have the date because I went
I'm
there the very
asking
next
you
day.
the date.
I told her I don't have
How
the
much
exact date.
How much after she gave you the $200?
This was probably about a month and a half, 2 months.
Well, if she gave you the money, sir, sometime in, let's say, the end of January.
I believe
It had-
sometime in March.
Well, that's just a few weeks afterwards
No,
that you had a new
that's about,
girlfriend.
like I said,
4
about a month,
weeks,
a month and a
5
half.
weeks?
About,
Yeah.
I'd say about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks.
And when did you get the new girlfriend?
I started a job working at Walmart, and I found a woman there that was actually
Nicer to you.
treated me a lot better.
When did you start the job at Walmart?
I started it when I first got there to that program, so it was in February. I started that there.
And so you found somebody else right away?
No, like I said, it was about 5 to 6 weeks that I
You're
actually
a
started
sleazy
talking.
character. Pay her back a $200. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
When she came down and smacked me around in the face 10 times and hit my girlfriend in the nose, everything right then and there, any chances of me ever paying her back would have been out.
Then he thought because he was, you know, having sex with me that was going to cure the problem, and it didn't.
And now the next case.
All parties on Mills versus Trelfa. Step forward, please.
23-year-old customer service rep Jason Mills is suing 38-year-old business owner Karen Trelfa for damage to his snowmobile resulting from a collision. Karen is countersuing for damage to her snowmobile, claiming the accident was Jason's fault.
Mr. Mills, you were on an outing and you were what is it called?
Snowmobiling.
Snowmobiling. And it is your claim that the defendant, who was also snowmobiling, had an accident and plowed into your snowmobile, which was in a stationary position.
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant says that you and your party created a dangerous situation. She's an experienced snowmobiler, and she wants you to pay for the damage to her snowmobile. Right?
Correct.
Okay. So tell me when this happened.
Well, on February 11th, 2001, we had rented a snowmobile. We were sledding with four total sleds, 6 individuals on the sleds. We had stopped on the far right of the trail, off of the groomed path, under the powder. I saw the defendant and her husband, whose sled was in front of hers, coming at us at a high rate of speed. Within a milliseconds of his passing through his powder, I saw the defendant's sled sliding toward us. She made impact with us. I was thrown from the sled, landed on my neck.
You were sitting on the sled?
I was standing directly next to my sled. I was the only person standing at the time. Everyone else was still sitting on their sleds facing forward. I was thrown up, landed on my neck. Anita was thrown from the sled and landed in a snowbank. The impact was severe enough to throw her boot from her body. If you look where the other sleds were parked, Mrs. Trolfa ended up toward the first and second sled. She made impact at the rear of our sled, slid down the trail. Now, immediately after, Mrs. Trolfa did come and immediately check to see if we were okay. Mr. Trolfa, of course, was worried about the condition of the sled.
What did he say?
Well, he acknowledged that her sled was pretty much trashed. Our sled, the damage was pretty severe. The frame itself was bent. I believe when you see the photographs, the frame on her sled is severely damaged. The top.
Do you have photographs?
Yes, I do. Would you like to see them?
Please.
That is her sled. This is my sled.
His. Hers.
The red colored portion of her sled was actually detached upon impact. It's just laying on.
Step up, sir. When did you realize that your wife had been in an accident?
After coming to a stop, after avoiding these people, there was people in snowmobiles parked in the trail, and I had to actually go around them on the left, up on the berm off the groomed section to go around them, and that is where I came to a stop.
What was the reason, sir, that you stopped your snowmobile?
Because I realized that there was an accident waiting to happen, an accident in progress, and my wife was probably getting hurt.
Well, how could you tell there was an accident in progress?
I turned around.
Sit down, sir. Okay, let me hear your version of this accident.
We were traveling from this direction down the trail. When I came over the hill, I noticed 4 snowmobiles parked along the right-hand side. There were people on this side and people on this side of the trail. My husband went to the left, which is off the trail. This line.
You see stupid written here?
No, I don't, ma'am.
Then you explain to me what possible rationale there would be to park the snowmobiles on one side and then for the people to be standing on the other side, not near their snowmobiles. You explain that to me.
Well, it does not practice safe snowmobiling procedure.
No. Of course it wouldn't. It would practice somebody being
Your
on
Honor,
drugs. They
Your
leave
Honor,
their
I can help with
snowmobiles on one side. Now I could see if you put them near where their snowmobiles were and you say that they were on the trail. But why would somebody get off their snowmobile, leave it on one side of the road, and walk over to the other side of the road? Why would somebody do that?
I don't know why they chose to. I would assume that they were taking photographs.
But your husband made it.
Which,
your husband made it.
Yes, he did. And when he went to this side, this person here ran across the front of the trail, which is where I was headed.
Go ahead.
I couldn't go right behind him. I would have be going too fast, and I would have ended up possibly hitting him because he was in some very deep snow and had stopped very quickly. So I had tried to get between this person and this snowmobile. He must have startled this person, and they ran across the trail. So I grabbed my handlebars and turned them sideways in order to turn my snowmobile so that I either flipped it before I got to this person or at least did not hit this person nose first and really throw them.
Your Honor, I don't know how she could claim that she saw people on the far left side of the trail, especially since I am the only person who was standing next to a sled at the time of impact.
Where were the other people?
They were still on their sleds.
According to your answer, you've been snowmobiling for 30 years, is that right?
12 years.
12 years.
We do almost 3,000 miles a winter, so almost 30,000 miles.
And is this area that you were snowmobiling in well-traveled?
Yes.
A lot of people there?
Yes.
Sometimes experienced?
Yes.
Sometimes not?
Yes.
Their bikes were stationary when you hit them?
Yes.
You're responsible.
No, ma'am.
Period. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, even if I believe you, and I don't believe a lot of what you told me, nobody would leave their snowmobile in the middle of the road and go
They
and
were
take
not in the
pictures.
middle.
The middle of the road and go take pictures.
They were not in the middle.
Right. So if they were not in the middle and you are a 12-year experienced veteran, you're supposed to be cautious.
And I was.
You're supposed to be cautious. No, if you were cautious, you wouldn't hit them.
I was 100 feet from the line of sight. They were in a very limited visibility area.
Then you're supposed to be more careful.
I was traveling at a very safe rate of speed.
Well, how could you be traveling at a safe rate of speed causing this damage?
They trapped the area and enclosed it.
I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that they created the kind of hazardous situation that you attribute to them. Maybe some of these sleds weren't totally off the road. Maybe some of them were hanging over a little bit. But you've got a counterclaim. You want them to pay for your sled. You hit them. And you don't know who it was who ran across the road. If you claim somebody ran across the road creating a hazardous situation, it certainly wasn't him. He got thrown from his bike.
It was her.
Oh, you mean you remember that?
Yes. And if he was the only one that was standing next to the trail, how did she get between me and their snowmobile that was to the right of me?
I don't know. What?
Now, is she claiming that I was on the other side of this trail and running across?
Yes.
Well, if that is the case, how was I thrown from my snowmobile and into the snowbank?
Were you on the snowmobile with him?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and he was standing?
Yes.
And you were sitting on the side?
I was sitting on the back of the sled.
I don't know how she can claim that. Where were the rest of the people?
They were all on their sleds, sitting on their sleds.
Sounds more right to me. You hit his snowmobile while his snowmobile was in a stationary position, period. His snowmobile, according to you, was well on the side of this road, and there was plenty of room for you to pass. Your husband had passed. There was plenty of room
Except
for you
for
to
the
pass.
people stepped out into the trail.
Listen, that happens. I don't believe it was her. She says she was sitting on the snowmobile. It's possible that somebody else ran out. You have to anticipate that. That's not his job to anticipate it. That's your job to anticipate it because you're moving.
I agree.
Good. Then you have to pay for his damage. Judgment for the plaintiff for $1,245, which is what it's going to take to fix the snowmobile. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yes, case number 138 on the calendar in the matter of Dent versus Bowen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
All right, this is a strange little tale. Let me see if I can put it in perspective. Miss Dent, the defendant is your son.
Yes.
According to your complaint, there came a time when he wanted to buy a car. You thought it was a good deal. You paid for the car with the understanding that he would pay you back.
Yes.
At the time that the car was purchased, he did not have a driver's license, and the car was not supposed to be driven. It is your claim he did not pay you for the car. To make a long story a little bit shorter, anyway, there came a time when your son was incarcerated. He says that when he was released from jail, that he delivered by messenger a money order. You have not cashed the money order. In the meantime, he says that you made arrangements for the police to be involved. The police impounded the car. There were impound fees of almost $900. So you're suing him for the cost of the car. He's suing you for the cost of the car, plus the impound fees. Is that pretty much the story?
Pretty much.
Now, when was the car purchased?
It was March 3rd was the day that he called me, and it was indeed a good deal.
How much was the car?
When he called me on the phone, it was $100. When I got there, it had gone up to $150 after I had come back from the bank.
$150?
Right.
Is that what you paid for the car?
No, I paid $120.
Well, could somebody explain to me why then you people have filed a lawsuit? You want $1,500 for this car?
Well, that's the value of the car.
Get that out of your head. You paid $120. That's what he was supposed to pay you back. Is that right?
Right.
Did you pay your mother back?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Show me. Your husband received payment for the car, money order. Why didn't you cash it?
My boyfriend received that. I was
Boyfriend?
Yeah, and I wasn't home at the time.
Do you live there?
Yes.
Why didn't you cash the money order?
because he didn't make me aware of it. The first I knew that there was a money order there was the day the police showed up to my house when he was claiming auto theft.
You mean you don't speak to your boyfriend?
Well, I work, he goes to school. There are days when we don't have words, yeah.
Well, but now you know about it, so where's the money order?
I have it.
Well, why don't you cash it then? You would have been paid. Now you know that he paid you on time.
Because there's a lot more to the story than that.
Just a minute. One thing at a time. He paid, as a matter of fact, the money order was for $151. So cash the money order and then you've been paid. That was your agreement with him, correct?
Right.
Fine.
He was supposed to pay for that car by April 2nd. It was to stay at my house parked. He had stolen license plates from Mike's Pinto and had put them on this car so he could drive it.
Well, that was terrible.
It was.
You shouldn't have done that.
Your Honor.
You shouldn't have driven the car. You had no license.
That's right.
Right?
Correct.
So, and that breached your agreement with your mother, right?
No, actually, my mother gave me permission to borrow the car.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry.
You have no license. Your mother cannot grant dispensation from state law, which says you require a license to drive. So there may be a lot more to it, but bottom line is, you lent him money for the car. That's what you were suing him for, not $1,500, because that's not what the car cost. And he's paid you.
So
you got your money back. Cash the money order.
Your Honor.
Now let's get to your counterclaim.
I think it's pertinent to address the issue of this whole reason she kept the car came and took the car from me and kept it. I got out of jail May 30th. The money wasn't originally due until April 2nd. She took the car, knew I didn't get paid until April 1st, took the car because I came forward and confessed that I knew that she asked me to help her plant drugs on my stepfather for a paternity case that she was losing, or felt she was losing.
Excuse me?
There is a custody issue with her and my stepfather.
Yes.
Over my brother.
How old is your brother?
He is 4 years old now.
Go ahead.
She asked me to help her get a stolen gun originally for her boyfriend, supposedly, that couldn't own a gun. And I said, why would he want a stolen gun? If he gets caught with it, it's even worse. So I said, what are you trying to do? She said, her husband, ex-husband, is winning the case. She feels he's wrongly winning. Help me get something that's a felony so I can get him to lose. And I helped her, and I'm ashamed of that.
How did you help her?
I called a friend that could help her get some drugs. And
what kind of drugs?
Methamphetamines.
And what'd you do with them?
They were delivered to her house. She paid for them.
Delivered to her house?
Yes. I called her the next day and said, I feel wrong about this. I can't send him to jail. I've gone to jail for stuff that I didn't do because of you. I don't want him to go to jail for this. And I came forward and told him. And she held the car against me, telling my brother, tell Brandon if he changes a statement in court that this is all a lie, that I didn't really do this, then I'll give your car back. And I haven't done so. And I located my car, went there to have it towed out of her witness's yard because I paid her for the money and extra money. I paid her the $25 she filed on me. She wanted me to repay her that. She told me, change your statement, pay me $150, which is $25 more than you actually owe me because I filed on you. It cost me $25, so pay me that.
Filed on you for what?
For the car.
You mean when she filed in small claims court?
Yeah, she wanted me to pay her that $25 back.
The fee?
Yeah, and I called the tow truck, went to go repossess my car out of the yard after it was paid for. The tow truck guy said that she won't let me on her property. I left, came back like 20 minutes later. The tow truck guy was pulling it out, said Stephanie told me to impound it as soon as I left. So they deliberately, out of spite, had it towed when I was there to remove it like 20 minutes before. This is all because I won't lie and say that she didn't do this.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeannie Dent says her son, Brandon Bowen, owes for the value of a car. Brandon says his mother asked him to frame her ex-husband.
Where's your $120 car?
It is at my house. I got it out of impound. I don't want the money for the car. I just wanted my car back, and I just wanted.
You have it now.
Yeah, I just wanted to pay for the damages. She kept, the lady that had the car, her witness, kept the key. The impound people had to unlock the door and take the ignition out, and all that has to be replaced. I have estimates how much that's going to cost.
Well, how much is it going to cost?
It's going to cost, just for the locks, not including the ignition, all the locks from Chet's Locksmith is going to be $367.
Forget it. Let me explain something to you. Okay. I'm not giving you, sir, 3 times the cost of the car to put in a new lock.
I don't want the process of the car. I just...
No, but you understand me? The whole car cost $120.
Yeah.
You think that I'm going to order her to pay $300 and how much? $27 to put in a new lock? Forget it.
Okay.
Bottom line is, you got your money, you got your car.
Correct.
You don't like each other anymore.
I love my mom.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like it to me. What were you in jail for, Mr. Bowen?
She alleged that I lived with her for a short period of time, and I was $50 short of paying half of her rent. She told me her new boyfriend doesn't like me. I had to leave because she had a doctor's appointment. I climbed back through my bedroom window. She came home and called the police, and her and my sister made up a story that we stole a bunch of stuff, which is not true, and I went to jail.
Just a minute. What did you go back to jail for recently in March?
That was to serve the last 4 days of the sentence for climbing through her window.
Were you the complainant on that case?
Yes, I was. He broke into my home.
I was living there at
Which
the
is
time.
just one of many things that have happened.
Why do you think that you would be entitled to $1,500?
Because that new contract was signed after constant badgering. He was calling my work, and every time that I would hang up on him, and he'd call back, he would hang up on my boss. My job was at risk. My boss said, this has got to stop.
That's not true.
And, and it was creating a problem for me. He was calling my house. You know, I'd get 7 phone calls,
child, madam.
5 are hang-ups.
He's your child. He's your child.
Yeah.
And if you bought him a car for $120, and that's what all this fuss is about.
He's my child who's broken into my home, who's stolen money from me.
I don't understand it. Do you ever have drugs delivered to your house?
No, I did not. And I have a couple statements here. He wrote a statement first and says that the person I'm in this battle with, first he writes a statement and says that this person, Richard, is coercing him to write a statement in lieu of furniture. And he comes to me and tells me that, and I said, well, then maybe you should write that down. So he did, and I have that with me. Then he goes to Richard, the other person, and writes the statement. A couple days later, he's got furniture. Then he comes back and writes another statement and says, well, that was not true, and I recant all that, which I have also.
Sounds like you shouldn't get your child involved in your own domestic court situations, especially when the child is an adult child and doesn't have anything to do with the custody battle that you're currently involved in. Neither you or his stepfather should do that. In any event, you got your money, you got your car. Goodbye, good luck, be well.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Happy life.
He's a drug addict.
I can't believe that someone that was supposed to be my mother would actually sit here and do this and say things like this.
Enough is enough.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Foster Nelson versus Winders Burgess. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Anthony Nelson and his stepfather, 35-year-old pipefitter Scott Foster, are suing Anthony's former friend, 15-year-old James Burgess, and his mother, 41-year-old waitress Kim Winders. Anthony claims James took his quad runner without permission and flipped it.
What's your first name?
Anthony Nelson.
Well, that's your first and your second name. But it goes together. Anthony?
Yes, ma'am.
Anthony, you have some sort of a bike. What sort of bike is it?
It's a four-wheeler.
What's a four-wheeler?
It's a quad cab. It's like a motorcycle, but it's got 4 wheels.
When did you get that?
Early in January, or late January.
Do you ride it?
Yes, ma'am.
How did I know that? Did you ever have one as a child?
I had motorcycles. They didn't have them back then.
But as soon as you saw it, you had to have it.
Oh, yes.
For your son. Right? You understand that?
Yeah.
All right. Just I don't know if I'm disturbing you.
It's a guy. No, 3-letter word for insect.
Gotcha. According to your complaint, Anthony, the defendant, this young man, was with you one day, and you were with some other people who also had fathers who wanted these four-wheelers, who bought them for their children. And the defendant, without your permission, got on the bike, rode it, had an accident with it, and damaged it. You want him to pay, or his mother to pay. That's what this case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not exactly sure what your defense is. That he gave you permission to ride it, and the cost of fixing it was too much, but I'll get to it in a second. How many boys were you out riding with?
There was 4 of us all together, ma'am.
How many boys had bikes?
The defendant had a motorcycle, and the rest of us had 4-wheelers.
So tell me what happened.
We got out of school early, and a couple of my friends and me, we wanted to go for a ride. It seemed like a nice day. We were out riding for a couple hours, and we decided to go take a break.
Was James with you at the time?
Yes, ma'am. He was one of us that was riding with us. We went back to Michael's house, my friend, to take a break. We were in his driveway talking, and the defendant got on my 4-wheeler and took off in reverse without asking my permission to get on it. And we ran out after him, but he was already too far out, and he couldn't hear us because of the motor. And by then, he hit the back brake and locked up the axle and flipped the 4-wheeler over. We ran out to see if he was all right, We picked the four-wheeler up, looked over it. We talked about it a little bit. He said, all right, I'll pay for the damages. And we'll go and call RTD, that's the dealership. We'll call RTD and see how much it is, and we'll handle it from there.
What parts were damaged?
The plastic was all scratched up. The front steering column was bent. The whole brake assembly was ruined. We had to replace that. It wasn't rideable. You couldn't ride it.
So you got an estimate?
Yes, ma'am.
From the place where you would purchase the bike?
Yes.
Can I see the estimate, please?
Here's a letter stating that it was in brand new condition. Here's the repair order, and here's what I actually bought so that we could continue to ride it.
The entire cost of repairing the bike is $918?
Yes, ma'am.
What's $1,027.11?
That was for my time off of work. I took a day off, or half day off when I figured we were going to court, and my labor's a lot cheaper than theirs.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear you.
Ma'am, I did have permission to ride the four-wheeler. We were all sitting in the driveway. We were standing talking around. Mike just got back from riding it. Mike took it down the road, come back. I go, Anthony, can I ride it? He goes, hold on 1 minute, let it cool down. A few minutes later, I asked him. He said yes. I was backing down the driveway. I hit the rear brake, and a four-wheeler came back. I jumped to the side of the four-wheeler.
You damaged the bike, right?
Yes.
So why shouldn't you pay for it?
I feel it was equal responsibility on both parts.
Why is that?
I've had people blow my stuff up. I got a YZ125 in '96, and I've had people blow it up, and I've always replaced everything anybody else.
Then you're a good guy. But if you borrow somebody's car and you wreck it, and unless there's insurance that covers it, it's your responsibility.
Yes.
The fact that he said that you could drive it doesn't relieve you of that responsibility. You want to say something?
Yes. The main reason we're here is from the discrepancy in what was supposed to be wrong with the four-wheeler. They went to my house, they called RTD, said it was just the clutch lever or brake lever, and it was $87.
They called and said, this looks like it's wrong with the bike, right?
Yes.
And they said, well, if that's all that's wrong with the bike, and it's $87.
Yes.
But clearly when they took the bike down there...
Can I say one more thing?
Sure, there turned out to be a lot more damage to the bike.
He came to my house, the father and the son came to my house a few weeks afterwards with an estimate of $400 and some. And he said, your son did this, will you pay it? And I said, what happened to the $87? And he got mad, upset, and I said, no, I won't pay the $400 and whatever dollars it was. So he went to go out of my driveway. He threatened my son.
He threatened to beat my... His exact words. He goes, your ass is beat.
He threatened my son, and
that's not
good. At that time, it was $400, $400 and some odd dollars.
Did you ever give them an estimate of $400 some odd?
No, I did not, ma'am. I walked to her door to ask her to pay this damages, and her exact words. I'm sorry.
That's
I'm a little upset.
That's not what I'm asking you. She said that you showed her a bill at one point for $400.
No, ma'am. She wouldn't even look at it. That's the actual estimate I gave her. She wouldn't even look at it.
Well, this is dated March the 2nd, which
Correct.
is shortly after the accident.
Correct.
He must have went and got that after he left my house. What he brought to my house was $400 and some.
What date did he come to your house?
You know what date it was?
I'm not exactly sure what date he come to my house, but all the kids at school knew it was $427. And then we got the statement in the mail that was that $900. It's like $1,027.
Okay. Has the bike been fixed?
I fixed the steering part so that we could ride it.
And how much did you spend on the steering?
You have the paperwork
Is that
up
the
there?
second bill?
Yes, ma'am.
$219?
Yes, I believe that's what it was.
All right. And the rest of it has not been done?
No, ma'am.
That's very, very easy. I'm entering an initial order of $219.73. And what you folks will do, since you all live in the same neighborhood, is we'll pick a date. You all go down to RTD Motorsports and satisfy yourself what the bill is. I will enter a maximum order in the amount of $918 to be held until the both of you go down and satisfy yourself what the bill is. Do you understand? Does that sound fair to you? I mean, no, it doesn't sound fair to you. He says he had permission. It's his responsibility. He wrecked the bike. And if he wants to be a good guy and take care of it when other people wreck his bikes, that's up to you. You wreck this one, it's your responsibility. The only difference is the cost of repair. and I don't think that you can exaggerate the cost of repair. You actually spent $219, that you get. Then 5 days from today, you boys make arrangements with your parents, if necessary, to go down to RTD Motors, see what it's going to cost to fix the bike for a maximum of total $918, and then the court will enter judgment in that amount. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound reasonable to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Court will draft the order. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 74 on the calendar in the matter of Wilder versus Hemley. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Wilder, the defendant is your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, your mother was relocating to Hawaii. Where had you been living with her?
In Houston.
In Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
So she was going to try a new life in Hawaii. And you and your mother entered into an agreement. According to your complaint, you could use the car that was in her name, on which there was a loan, and you would make the payments on the car. So far correct?
No, ma'am. To our agreement was that we were going to be taking over the payments for the car.
Just a second. You were going to be paying for the car.
Yes.
And if she decided to stay in Hawaii, according to your complaint, then she would turn the car over to you.
No.
Let me read what you wrote, Miss Wilder. Your complaint says, my mother and I had a verbal agreement when she moved to Hawaii in October that if she stayed there, she would sign over her 1996 Corsica to me, and I agreed to pick up the payments. That's what you wrote.
Well, she said that she moved there.
I'm just telling you that that's what you wrote in your complaint.
Yes.
And as it turns out, your mother did not stay in Hawaii, but she came home. When did she come home?
About a week and a half before March the 1st.
When did she leave?
Right before the 1st of October.
That's not true.
When did you leave?
November 8th. I came back February 23rd.
So she came back, and she took her car back.
Yes.
And you want her to reimburse you for the payments that you made for those 4 months.
Yes.
According to what you wrote here in your complaint, your agreement was that if she decided to stay there, then she would turn the car over. Now what you're telling me is you were going to take over the payments and the car completely when she left Texas. Is that right?
Her residence was going to be in Hawaii. She moved there.
Miss Wild, try listening to what I'm saying to you. According to what you're saying now, when she left Texas for Hawaii, your agreement was that you were going to now own the car.
Yes.
And it would be your car.
Yes.
So why didn't you make the transfer before she left?
Because I couldn't get anything underneath my name. We didn't have enough money to, we had a vehicle in our name, and we still do. But we had problems with it. It was broke down. We agreed that I would take over the payments for the car, so we put a for sale sign on the truck. The truck wasn't really safe. I was fixing to have my second child, and it was more of a family car, so we agreed to take over the payments.
Okay, how much were the payments?
$300 a month.
And what happened when your mother came home?
Well, right before she came home, we had talked, and I asked her what she was going to do for transportation and everything. And she said that as long as I helped her, get a job, for her to have transportation back and forth, that her exact words were she would go around my schedule. I didn't have a problem with that at all. When she came back, she started having this power thing. That's what it was a power thing. She wanted to have the control over the car. And, I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it does.
I worked nights, she worked during the day. It became a problem. She was like, no, I'm having the car, this and that. We started fighting. She threatened to call the police the first time. And then we had a problem again, and the police did get involved.
Okay. Now, according to you, you paid for the car for October, right?
Yes.
November?
Yes.
December?
Yes.
January?
I have a log from the dealership that's from what I paid.
Who wrote, in whose handwriting is this?
That's the
lien holder.
Yes.
You're supposed to pay this on the 1st of the month?
Yes, ma'am.
The 1st and the 15th. It's scheduled for $150 every 2 weeks.
So you didn't make a payment on the 15th of February, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
There was a couple of times when I paid late and everything, but the man from the dealership, he was a friend of ours. He knew that I would pay. He knew that I was taking over the payments, everything.
No, he knew I was going to pay,
just a second.
Carrie.
But you did not make a payment for February. February 15th's payment you did not make.
She didn't make a whole payment the whole month of January.
I paid late, Your Honor.
February 2nd, she made a payment.
Yes, I paid the full amount for all of January. He knew that man from the dealership.
Don't tell me what he knew. Just answer my questions. You did not pay in January.
No.
You say you made up January's payment in February.
Yes.
But then you didn't make February's payment.
Yes, I did. I was only $100
No, you weren't.
behind. Yes, I was.
When I came back, I had to pay the $450 that she didn't pay, so my insurance got canceled because I didn't have enough money to pay the bill.
Was your agreement with your daughter that this car would be hers, period? Or was your agreement with your daughter that if you stayed in Hawaii, the car would be hers?
Her and her boyfriend both. I talked to them, both of them, and I explained to them that you guys can use the car as long as you make the payments on it. If I don't come back from Hawaii, then as soon as the car was paid off, I would sign it over to her lock, stock, and barrel. Well, by February 15th, I knew I was coming back because she was going to have the baby pretty soon. And I told Carrie, as long as you help me get back and forth to work and I can get you back and forth to work, we'll figure out something. Well, it was to the point where neither one of them were showing up to pick me up for work. I would call and call and call and nobody would answer the phone. And I'd have to find other ways to get back to work.
At 7 o'clock in the morning
That's
and everything,
right.
on a Sunday, on the weekend, she wanted the car, which is understandable, but it was my car. Before she came, her exact words were, she'll go around my schedule.
Just a second. She made the payments. She started to pick up the payments as soon as she came back. Yes.
Yes.
According to these,
Yes,
according to this, according to the dealer, she started to make the payments. So you were not making the payments when she returned from Hawaii.
That's not why she took the car.
That's not what I asked you.
Yeah, but yes, ma'am.
She was making the payment. So the car is in her name.
She was using
and you were using it. Pay attention. Well, the car was parked in your driveway because you just said to me your complaint was that you would ask for the car at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
This is
so you
before
had
the first. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Before what?
She took the car back before the payment was even due. The insurance payment was even due.
I'm not talking about the insurance payment, Miss Wilder. I'm talking about the car payment, which she clearly made. Put your hand down. Which she clearly made before she took the car back.
No, ma'am. She paid the payment after she took the car from us.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is true. It is true.
Your Honor, I even paid her
She took the
electric
car.
bill.
The police came, called me on the phone. You need to give the keys to your mother. Everything's in her name. Then the payment was due on the car. The insurance, I told her.
I'm not talking the insurance. You're hooked into insurance. I'm not talking insurance.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Wilder says her mother, Angela Hemley, owes her for car payments and the money she paid for car insurance.
What date did the police come to your house and remove the car from your house?
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Well, first of all, the cops didn't go to her house. They came to where I was staying with my brother.
She was
and they
fine.
made a
What
courtesy
date?
call. I don't know the exact date. It was in April.
I had to be at work that night.
And they explained.
You remember that?
Yes.
Was it in April?
No, it was not.
When was it?
Do you know what day it was?
What?
March.
So you say it was in March. Clearly you made no payment in March for the car. And you didn't make the last payment in February, according to your own records.
Yes, it was before March.
No, it wasn't. Miss Wilder.
The reason why I'm
Miss
saying
Wilder,
this is it was before
listen
the
to me.
first of
Listen
the
to
month.
me. No.
Yes,
She says
the
April.
police came.
Boyfriend over here says March. And you don't know whether you're a foot or horseback. Pay attention. You had the use of a car for 3 months. You drove it. You went to work with it.
Yes.
Boyfriend went to work with it.
Yes.
And you paid $300 a month for it.
Yes.
You had no other car because you just told me you sold it.
No, we're still trying to sell it. It has a for sale sign.
Well, then it must be a pretty much of a clinker if you can't sell it.
Well,
so
it's a
you were
one-time.
using this car. You can't use it for nothing. You couldn't rent a car for $300 a month.
But that's not the agreement that we had.
Yes,
I
it was.
understand
The
that.
agreement that you had was, according to your sworn complaint, my mother and I had an agreement when she moved to Hawaii that if she stayed there, she would sign over her car to us, and I agreed to pick up the payments.
That's on her. She decided to come back. That was her. She got ID, everything, permanent residence.
Pay attention. If she stayed there, she did not stay there. She moved back.
Yes.
According to your mother, and I believe her because it sounds right. Look, I don't know what we're going to do with the car. Let's try to work together with the car. You're expecting a baby. As long as you take me where I have to go and I can get to work on time and I can get to where else I have to go, let's try to work it out. And then, according to your mother, not only weren't you making the payments on the car in a timely fashion, but there was also a problem picking her up and getting her to work. She decided to take the car back, which she did, which she was entitled to do even under your agreement. Your initial agreement. So your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You can't trust anybody, not even your own family.
I just want to see him happy.
This ain't the first thing, but it's the last thing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Douglas versus Whalen. Step forward, please.
29-year-old kitchen designer Rob Douglas is suing his former roommate, 27-year-old pipe coverer Sean Whalen, for intentionally breaking his dog's leg.
Mr. Douglas, according to your complaint, the defendant was a friend of yours and you decided to share an apartment together. You moved into the apartment and you have a small dog.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
It's a dachshund.
It is your complaint that the defendant purposefully caused your dog to have a broken leg. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you move into this apartment together?
February of 2000.
How many people moved into the apartment?
There was 3 of us.
Did you have the dog in February of 2000?
Yes, I did.
So that you knew that the dog would be moving
I
in?
knew the dog would be coming in, but I also knew that there wasn't no pets allowed in the apartment.
I just asked you if you knew the dog would be coming in.
All right.
When was the dog's leg broken?
The dog's leg was broken a week before I was moved out in February of 2001.
You weren't at home at the time.
No, I wasn't.
What indication do you have that Mr. Whalen did this act purposefully?
He would tantalize the dog. Whenever the dog came into the room, he would stomp near it. One time he threw a beer can at it. Sean and I got into a fight over that. He had broken the dog's cage.
How did he break the dog's cage?
He stepped on the top of it and put a hole into it.
When did he do that?
I was at work again.
When did I do that?
Shh, don't speak to him.
I was at work. I came home, and the dog's cage, I left it in the kitchen. And I came into the kitchen, and there was a huge hole in the top of it. And I asked Sean what had happened. He said the dog had been barking in the cage, and that he had stomped on the top of the cage and broke it.
You mean to stop the dog from barking?
Right. But in the process, he put a huge hole in it.
Wrong.
And I went out and bought a new cage, and then I started keeping the dog up in my room.
In the cage?
Right.
Now, what happened in February of 2001, sir?
I came home from work, and Sean was laying on the living room couch, and he said, "You better sit down." And I said, "Why?" He's like, "Don't flip out." And I'm like, "What'd you break?" And as the time I was sitting down, the dog came down the stairs, limping, and he jumped up on me, on my lap. And I looked at his leg, and it was like hanging, dangling, and the bone was like coming through the skin. He's like, I brought him to the vets. He said that the dog's leg needed to be wired. It was going to be over $2,000. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I was bringing the dog back up to his cage, and he wiggled out of my arms, and he fell on. I had a saw on the top of my stairs, because I'm a carpenter too. And he said he dropped it on the saw, the dog on the saw.
What time of the day did you leave that day in February?
For work, I left at 8:30 in the morning.
And where was the dog when you left for work?
In his cage in my room.
That's wrong.
Shh. I'm going to get to you. Didn't you understand? What words don't you understand?
All right, I'm all right.
The dog was in the cage when
Yes.
you left. Had you walked the dog that morning?
I let him out the back door. Every morning I would let him out the back door to go to the bathroom, and then I put him up in his cage.
And what time did you return from work that day?
Like 5:30.
So the dog isn't walked between 8:30 and 5:30.
Right. But my other roommate, third roommate, would come home from work at 7:30 in the morning, go to bed, because he worked at night.
Right.
And when he'd get up, he would let the dog out before I got home from work. And then put the dog back in
At
his
what
cage.
time?
Whenever.
Okay. What time did you bring the dog to the vet?
Probably got there around 3 o'clock.
Was that before or after the third roommate woke up?
He wasn't home.
He wasn't home at all?
No.
Okay. And where did you find the dog?
I think he was in the living room,
What was he doing in the living room?
just sitting there. So I was going to bring him up to his cage. I didn't like the dog being out because it would mess in the apartment almost on a daily basis. And I was on my way out again, so I wanted the dog back in his crate. So I brought him up. I was bringing him upstairs, and it squirmed out of my arms. He knew where I was bringing him. He didn't want to go there, probably. Squirmed out of my arms, fell on the saw, made a horrible noise, and then it looked to me like his leg was broken, so I brought him to the vet.
Mr. Whalen, I read your answer very carefully, and it's clear from your answer, sir, that you didn't like this little dog. Could you tell me why?
I didn't like its behavior. It must be over 3 years old. It has not been properly trained. It would just pretty much do whatever it wanted. I've seen the dog on a table eating out of a bowl that I would eat out of, standing up on a table. The thing was untrained. It's not that I didn't like the dog. I didn't like the way it behaved. It should have been taken care of better than it was.
Why did you stomp on the cage?
I didn't stomp on the cage. I kicked it, the metal front.
Right.
I kicked that, and that
Why
was
did
dented.
you kick at it?
Because the thing it was barking. It wouldn't be quiet.
So that's the way you thought you would get it to be quiet.
A little
by kicking it?
intimidation, yeah.
And the beer can incident.
I don't recall that incident.
Well, try to think hard. He seems to remember that you threw a beer can in the dog's direction, and then you had a fight about it. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
What responsibility, Mr. Whalen, do you believe you had with regard to the expenses for taking care of this dog?
None.
Why not?
I was simply bringing it back up to its cage, where it should have been.
Had you ever picked up this dog before?
Yes,
Many times?
many times.
Have you ever put the dog back in its cage before?
Yes, I have.
So the dog has tried to squirm not to go back into the cage before?
Yeah, it has.
When you came home on that day in February, Mr. Whalen, did you look around the house to see if the dog had messed in either your room or around the house?
I didn't look around. I just saw him out, and I brought him upstairs. But it had in the hallway where it usually does. Pretty much the same spot
On
every
that
time.
day?
Yes,
Now, when did you notice that, before or after you picked him up?
after.
And when you walked into the house and you saw the dog just sitting in the living room, were you annoyed that the dog was out of the cage?
Annoyed?
Yeah.
No.
You weren't.
Well, I guess a little bit, but I was going out again, and I wanted to put it where it's supposed to be.
Now, you took the dog to the vet,
Yes.
and the vet told you that the dog's leg was broken and needed surgery.
It needed something more than, say, a cast, yeah. So it's going to be expensive.
So can you tell me why you didn't tell the vet to take care of the dog?
It wasn't my dog. I didn't want to make any decisions on it, spending a couple $1,000s. I asked him if he could do anything for the dog, like he gave the dog some pain medication, and I said probably the owner will probably come back here. I'm not going to make any decisions or tell you to do anything.
Now, when you brought the dog home, where did you put the dog?
I think I just put him up in his room and closed the door.
Mr. Douglas says that when he came home, the dog came limping down the stairs. Had you opened the door?
No.
How did the dog open the door?
The time that I went to the vet and came back, the other roommate had come home.
And?
Maybe he went up and looked at him and left the door open. I don't know.
When
Or
you
maybe
went-
the dog didn't come down like he said.
Well, you were there.
Yeah,
Well, did the dog come down the stairs or not?
I don't remember.
Mr. Whalen, did the vet indicate to you that the dog should be kept immobile until the decision was made about what was going to happen with the leg?
He said it was a pretty severe fracture.
Did he say that the dog should be kept immobile?
I don't remember hearing him say that, no.
Did you think it was a good idea, Mr. Whalen, if the dog had a severe fracture, to put the dog back in its cage when you brought it home instead of just putting it in the room so it wouldn't be walking around with this broken leg? Wouldn't that seem like common sense?
Yeah, I guess the dog could have been in the room just lying there, too.
Could have been, but as you said, the dog was untrained. Dog's not as smart as people. You put the dog in the cage, they can't walk around and further aggravate the break. So why didn't you put the dog in the cage?
I don't know, I just didn't put him in there. I put him in his room and I closed the door.
Your claim, Mr. Douglas, is that Mr. Whalen purposefully caused injury to your dog.
Yes.
That's the basis of your claim. If it was merely an unforeseen accident, he would not be responsible.
Right.
So I have to make a judgment as to whether I believe that Mr. Whalen did, in fact, act in such a reckless manner with your dog as to make him responsible for the vet bills. You understand that?
Yes.
I believe he did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम बन जा छोड़िया हाँ बड़ा उड़ रहे हैं मक्खे मरदा पिया नंबर 2 जल्दी आ जल्दी ओ मर गया ओए होए मर गया